Hi, good morning, everybody here in the US. It's Ray, it's Life and Vibe. Oh, we got a new member. I'm so excited. Hey, TLR, come on in. Join the fun. Drop us some emojis in there. We've got uh glucometers, we have sad pancreas, we have the poor kidneys. I think it's all been going on. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm at lucky number 69. I'm sorry for all the delays. I see that we got lots of folks in here. Just obviously ask lots of, respect in the chat at the moment, since my mods may not have been able to make it in. So obviously this channel, I always want to preface and let people know that, we're not here to bully anybody. I'm not here to, get comments that call Chantel names and, laugh about calling her names. It's just not. Yeah, she's not a very nice person, James, but we she is not a nice person, but obviously, let's be kind to one another in the chat today. I definitely want to always stress that as somebody who's trained to be a mental health professional, actually a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Obviously, we always want to foster a kind community here within one another. But yeah, she's not a very good person, I should say. And she's certainly not the type of person who should be educating anybody. So I've got a lot of studying to do today, but it just happened that this week my topics in grad school, because I'm taking advanced pharmacology at the moment, and happened to talk about insulin and weight management. Sal, I know, Mrs. Muerta, I'm very busy and I find Chantel to be quite repetitive sometimes. So, and there's so many other channels that talk about Chantel. I mean, there are so many channels, so many channels. It's astounding. So I feel like I'm competing in a landscape. And even though I am obviously one of the few actual medical professionals who talk about her, I'm obviously you're not a Tim watcher. Well, I understand. And that's why I've decided that probably with Chantel, if I probably will just try to go live about one of her videos once a week. I do not, unfortunately, have time to do persistent reactions to her just because I have a job that I'm starting, and I don't want to get into it because this is not the trauma dump from Life and Vibe. But obviously, I have to manage, what is the priorities in my life. And I've been talking about Chantel for a long time, having uncontrolled, unmanaged type 2 diabetes. It's probably been over 6 months, and have talked about all of her different medication regimens. And then I feel that sometimes it gets just, there's so much commentary made about her that anything that I would say as a actual medical professional is just drowned out. So let me go open up my door because I realize that I might don't have the best internet connection. Hold on. I did have plans to have another registered nurse come on, who wellness homesteader, Miss Kim, and she and I were going to get on here. Yeah, she's got a lot of stuff going on. It's the same. She's in the health org. She actually seems quite happy. You're here to learn unicorn thoughts. Well, I don't. I'm glad because I think Chantel doesn't really understand, and I know cheekbones can help with this. Is obviously really misunderstanding her use of the drug Lantus, and she gives a lot of misinformation along the way. And obviously my other concern is that she actually, and I don't know how much, because I don't know Chantel on a personal level. We can only go on what she obviously has going out into her streams. She hasn't live streamed. Obviously, she's eating lentils, which I would think are quite carbohydrate heavy. Drop it down, cheekbones, in regards to, how much. Yes, we've discussed everything. I mean, it's not like we have a magic crystal ball over here or that we are doing anything of that nature. It's just that it's something that's going to be the trajectory. And she spent an entire, I don't know how many weeks it was, her last video before she went over to the hospital or clinic, I should say, is that she was eating a Burger King. So she willingly ate food that she was not. Oh, Miss Cheekbones, member for 2 months. Thank you. Yay. Can't believe it's been 2 months since I released these memberships. Thank you, Cheekbones. And thank you for all your support, Cheekbones, and actually coming on. I'll try to see when we can get live on this. It's just, I've got so many papers for school and tests to study for. And it just happened that this week, what was going on with Chantel coincided with what I was studying in my classes. So anyway, let me just get this started. And so we can get this done and let everyone get on with their Saturdays. Yeah, but I want to thank all of my members who are here in the chat. Every time you feel like a sad pancreas or a glucometer or a kidney or, any of those needs to be dropped in the chat, then please do so. I'm kind of trying to figure out where she is on Kubler's stages of grief, because we've seen her in denial. Is she in the acceptance? She seems a little too happy. And that concerns me, because I don't think she really truly understands how Lantus works. And I don't think she understands that now being on insulin, what implications that's going to have. I'm sensing that she thinks, I'm looking for my water, I apologize, that she senses that it's an opportunity for her to eat more. And that is not how the drug Lantus works. Hey, funny girl, come on in. So yeah, let's just get this started so we can take a look at it, because people say I talk too much at the start. So yeah, anyway, we know supposedly she went to a doctor, and to an internal medicine doctor. And the thing is when we see her in these appointments, there's been some talk on Twitter that actually the clinic is in the United Arab Emirates and is not actually in Kuwait. And I wonder, I'm not obviously here for the conspiracy theories, but I do wonder if it's something that she is, sort of picking and choosing clips of video so she can make it appear that she's getting this treatment in Kuwait, because we know that they have had a crackdown. And I think she wants to give the impression sometimes that she has everything perfect in Kuwait, that it's, she really is living there. There's no issues. And having lived in a foreign country and worked in a foreign country, as I did in Mexico for many, many years, I was a teacher in Mexico for 7 years and had to have different types of immigratory status. And it was very apparent that I had to have paperwork, which is why she could never get a job in Kuwait, is because she's got to find somebody who would give her the immigration status, and she doesn't have any qualifications that Kuwait would find attractive. So she really has to sort of dodge under the law. And she doesn't want to give that impression, obviously, to her audience. She wants to, stick her fingers up at other people in girl world. It's not me, but other people. It's like some sort of strange competition going on. And most of us who have traveled, who understand what it's like to live and work in other countries, who understand immigratory status, know that whatever is going on in Kuwait, she's doing quite illegally. And so she wants to stay there. I think she, in my opinion, and this is my opinion only, and anything that I do say today, I'm not treating or diagnosing her. These are just my opinions and my thoughts, just to give you heads up, is that she is just trying to give this impression that she is in a really good place, that she is not skirting the law in Kuwait, that she is legally there. She's, that she doesn't need to go off and do visa runs and this, that, and the, and we clearly know she has to. Chantel does not have a special provision in the laws in Kuwait that allow her to do what she's doing. And now there's been some talk, is she trying to get sick because she would then become somebody who would not be able to be forced to leave Kuwait? I do not know the laws in Kuwait, but I would not see that they would not have a problem, medevacing her out of there on her dime. So I feel that I don't know if she's actually getting treatment inside Kuwait. She cannot have a regular doctor just set up like that. So I'm wondering, because she's disappeared again, has she crossed over to the border to go and see, her doctors in another country that she's trying to then skirt the laws around? And so trying to get medical help, because she's not going to be able to get a long-term provider in this country. It's just absolutely impossible. Yeah, the only competition is her health, and they both are losing miserably. Yeah, she is being factitious. Absolutely. And facetious. Oh, you were being facetious. I thought I was talking about her being factitious. Okay. Sorry about this. Let me move this furniture out of the way. I don't know why my internet, I guess this is why this is one of my reasons why I did not go live yesterday. Yeah, it was a chair. Okay. There we go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I think my internet, my wireless has to literally point at my computer. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, baby. Come on. Up to your chair. Up to your chair. Junebug and I just came back from a very quick walk this morning because we're trying to see if the rain's going to come back. So, yeah, one of the reasons why, sadly, yesterday we had massive storms in this area. So I apologize. I just came back from walking the dog. And no, to your chair, Junebug. That's my chair now. My new massage chair is sitting in the place where her chair used to be. And so now it's freaking her out. Can you please go to your chair? No, I'm not opening up the bedroom. You need to go to your chair, madam. Just go to your chair, please. To your chair. To your chair. You used to love that chair. I'll sell that chair. Sorry about that. Hey, Dr. Falcon, come on in. You haven't missed anything. We just got started. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, she's getting a massage as well. I wish I was. If I had one of those, anyway. She obviously... I mean, who is this person here in this in the screen at the moment? Who is this person? Who is this face? I don't know that face. I don't know who this person is. This is Chantel's fantasy. This is her fantasy. She wants to actually I don't know who she's actually trying to convince, because the audience is not convinced. Maybe people who are not familiar with her channel may be convinced, but anybody who's familiar with Chantel and Girl World knows that she does not look like this. The ones where she was in the clinic, I don't know still if there were filters, were probably the most accurate to her. But again, I can tell that her face is filtered. This is not her face. With her diabetes type 2, I'm sure she's had some skin changes. She's masking a lot of her health issues. Up to your chair, please, sweetheart. I'm not going to let you on the couch anymore. Sorry. Junebug and she's not happy. She's not happy where hey, Angel Glass, come on in, girl. Sorry. She thinks she probably looks like that in her mind. That is something I'm not sure. I feel that that's what she potentially wants to project as her appearance, or how she would want herself to appear. That's kind of her fantasy of appearance, because she knows she's probably far from that. So she's not able to actually attain what she would perceive a level of beauty on her own physicality. She can't just put on the makeup and a wig and hope and look like the way that she wants to, as she had in the past. She would just slap on the makeup, she put the hair wigs on, maybe what she thought was a cute little outfit, and be able to roll out the door thinking that she looked as cute as she felt. And so there's a lot that says about potentially her ego. Obviously, we've talked too about her potentially having narcissistic personality traits. And I think some of it starts to come through on this video today. I've watched quite a few channels react to it, and I'm very thank you for saying hit the like button. I'm like, I haven't gone live in so long. I almost forget how to do it. Oh, okay. So yeah, this is not what she looks like. Okay, Chantel, take it away. Let's just get into this stream. Let's get going.
There, Beezers.
Okay, no, we don't want to do the cameo. We already have suspicion the cameo is where she finds her people to pay for her potential food addictions and pay for her expensive fast food in Kuwait. Because if I take a look at her YouTube analytics at this moment, and we can just pop over. Oh, no, we don't want to hear this. I'm going to bring up view stats real fast, and we can actually look at where she's sitting at on her statistics at the moment. If you're not familiar with view stats, this is a site that was started by Mr. Beast. I'm not trying to obviously hashtag Mr. Beast, but it just happens that he's the one who started it. And we can actually kind of take a look at what her channelytics are. And you can kind of see here, at the beginning of June, she had a spike when she was really popping out the lives and her dinner dates and all of this. She was really hitting up there. She was getting 38,000 views in that time, just over 38,000. She then, the time when she was doing the Pictionary and that Chinese food mukbang, it really dropped. I mean, to less than 9,000. She then took up another spike when she talked about being depressed. She used Mr. Beast, and she's obviously was putting out more videos then, again, just with the food. And then we fell down because she did a wholesome live bees. Then she just kind of tapered under 20,000 views, under 20. These are not the type of views that she wanted. She had one that got, I believe, deleted along somewhere. So here she's like, no, you know, she's calling out Girl World, still getting under 20,000. So all the sort of rage things that she would usually try to, hold on one second, guys. Sorry, I need to get Junebug to settle down. I moved her chair because I needed to put my new massage recliner, my flexi spot, in the place where her chair had been originally. And she's just very unsatisfied with that location. You know how dogs get. They get very accustomed to being in a routine. And the routine was her chair was next to me. And now it's much further away. Anyway, that's dog mom problems. So here we can see, I mean, here, when she went live in the Kuwait heat, I mean, this one had under 5,000 views. Look at the drop, less than 65%. I mean, a 65% drop on the 28-day. Here, when she came back up, something obviously happened. This is obviously the July the 4th weekend as well. So we know that here in the United States, a lot of the people that potentially would have been regularly watching her, and I'm sure part of why I bring up these stats is that obviously it's going to make an impact on her mental health, because this is somebody who is driven to have to make money in order to keep her lifestyle in Kuwait and potentially to keep her husband around. So she then obviously came, I think this is the time too, where she's, I think, did her visa run. And this time she came back in July 7th. Her views have probably spiked back up again, because I believe that's the time when she started to come back from Kuwait. So she went up again. She got this one with her updates. People really were not that interested. And then she spiked up a little bit with her lentil soup and cheekbones. I'm curious for you to know. Oh, heart failure or kidney disease? Both, probably, because they go hand in hand, Jamie. Yeah. If you're getting heart failure, you're going to get kidney disease. And one of the things about her new medication, Lantus, is about how that actually does affect the kidneys, and you have to be monitored for your kidneys quite closely. And we've been talking, and so she keeps talking about a kidney infection. I think that's her, both, yeah. And lentil soup, I would not imagine in the quantities that she's eating is particularly recommended for somebody who, hey, Goose Chuck, come on in. Is somebody who is nice to see you. Nice to see you. Your brother-in-law had a stroke related to kidney failure. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the body works in conjunction. So the heart is going to be your main organ that is always going to make almost decisions as to what is going to be perfused with blood in the body. And if the heart is beginning to fail, then it's actually going to start to decrease blood flow initially to your gastric system. That's why people who have heart failure have such terrible nausea, that's almost unabated nausea, because you're not getting the blood flow actually to the stomach in order for it to do this peristaltic movement, in order for you to be able to get your digestive system going. So any little bit of food just lying around, you're going to have a sense of nausea. So the nausea that she thinks sometimes might be coming from her medications may actually be becoming from the fact that her heart is not functioning fully and correctly. And one of the interesting things about Lantus is that it's not really a drug to be given with people with heart failure either. And so I don't know how much of her actual medical history she revealed to these doctors in Kuwait or the United Arab Emirates or wherever she's getting her care from, because they would need to do a full workup on her and see, that she's got potentially heart failure. A lot of these drugs are, if you have liver disease, and we know she has alcoholic fatty liver disease, they would actually be contraindicated. So Lantus is actually not a very good insulin for her. I don't know why she's so happy to be on it. It's got so many issues for people with her particular problems. So I just don't think it's a good drug. And then again, so we can see that she's not getting the views. This is going to put a lot of stress on her. Stress is something that also can raise blood sugars in the body. And so I think her trying to come out and educate people about insulin and all of this is just such bad advice. She is not the person to educate anybody except what not to do with your health, because she had to have been aware that when she was eating the way she was with all these fast food mukbangs and all these huge portions that she was doing, because I'm guessing she needs to make income because her numbers and her money is falling. So this is what they're estimating. And these are just estimates. And the one thing when you go to these like Social Blade or you go to View Stats and take a look at anybody's actual videos and the revenue, what they're estimating that on is a very low CPM, and that's clicks per 1,000. And that's actually what the advertisers pay, not even what you receive as the creator, which would be your RPM, which is rate per 1,000. It usually can be a couple of dollars less. For example, Social Blade, the highest they ever show people is, I believe, like $4 click per 1,000. But I even showed recently in a video of my own that my RPM on average can be $5.44. So I even have a much higher RPM. So where she's making this type of money, I'm not sure. But what it is indicating is that she's really losing money here. Obviously, she lost 1,000 subs here. Her views are down almost 167,000. Now the views and all of these numbers are very accurate on View Stats, and she's really falling. So this is a huge amount of money that she could be losing. And so I can understand why she's been upping the cameos, potentially upping her contact with other people who are in the sort of food fetish world, potentially for a source of income, because she's not making it from YouTube and she's no other sources of income. And what I can see in her lives, because she just has worn out her newbies, is that, and we're in economic times at the moment. So when she was probably getting all that money, it was probably at a time where people were at home during COVID. People were receiving unemployment checks that were very generous. So it kind of didn't feel like your money, And I don't know. I was working as a nurse, but that's what I'm kind of ascertaining. And probably people felt generous with it. And they would send her like hate chats and stuff. And she was just making a ton. But as you can see, on the 28th of June, she has fallen. Her view change was just massive, just huge. And now she's, that was from the month before. That's how much she's just losing her viewers. Like, she's not getting anything. This is going to add to her stress. This is going to add to her. And look, she got 2,900 here up in February. And look, she flatlined on her subscribers. And then I think when she was trying to get that 100K plaque or whatever, she kind of, tipped back up in June again. She suddenly got an extra 1,000 subs out of nowhere, which is unusual. I think, was this the height of this was the height of her trying to do that sub for sub, I believe. And then she got in trouble and she got nobody subscribed to her channel. And then suddenly she got like 1,000 subs suddenly in June, which seems very unusual, very unusual. So I think, this is going to add to any of her blood sugars. If you've been used to the sort of money she used to make, and you're in another country, you're paying for the apartment, you're paying for the car, you're doing all these things, I'm not surprised that she suddenly had to go and do the other things. So we've had a bunch of different videos, coming out, and they're just, she's not putting out as many videos a day like some of the people I talk about. But her views are probably, for 100K channel, she's getting less views than some of our smaller reaction commentary channels, who pretty much probably get more views than they even get subscribers. So yeah, we just look at all this fast food. I mean, why would we not be surprised? It was like she almost wanted to put herself on insulin. Look at this, the worst food you can possibly imagine for somebody who's type 2 diabetic. It's like, I really think she just, and she's doubling up on her Janumet, which is, you just don't do that. You just don't do that. Anyway. If you haven't had a chance to hit the like. So yeah, that's kind of why I think she'll have more stress to deal with that. Okay. I'm going to skip over this cameo because I'm not trying to give her any type of love here. Okay. All right. So let me read this out, because I'm always curious to know what her mind is focusing on. She obviously seeing an internal medicine doctor. For those not familiar, internal medicine would be somebody, if you were having to manage a lot of different chronic illnesses, it's very good to see internal medicine over a family practitioner, because they're going to be able to look at the body and manage multiple systems as a whole. I personally, as you get older, it's always good to start thinking about maybe moving from a family practice doctor, unless you really like your relationship, to somebody who does internal medicine, just because as you get older, you do tend to get more often health concerns. Even if you feel like you're a super healthy person, you might have some hereditary things that you start to experience, such as osteoarthritis that's hereditary. For example, I have a family propensity, and I've already had to have corrected my venous issues, because I'm somebody who is already been treated for having I can't even think of the word now. With my veins, it'll come to me. I can't I tell you, I've been busy lately. Where you get the veins stripped. Anyway. I can't remember. If you can remember, help me out in the chat, because you think she's agreed that she wants to. Well, the thing is, you can't abuse insulin like that. Lantus, you can't use it like that. It's not to be used like that. She's totally misunderstanding how to use the medication. And they've only put her on the starting dose to see how she's going to tolerate it and not become hypoglycemic, because they have not dosed her for her weight at the moment. The weight dosage is usually it's 0.2 units per kilo for the dose, but they usually start you out on 10. That's what the recommended starting dose is, unless you have a hemoglobin A1C that's greater than 8.5. Then they would increase the dose. So her saying it's been weight-based dosing is not correct at this time. They have literally put her on the starting dose at 15. And there was probably 15 because she had a hemoglobin A1C over 8.5. I know that cheekbones can talk. Varicose. Thank you. Thank you, guys. God, that word was leaving my head today. Thank you. I've been reading about insulins all morning. Yes, I have a family history of varicose veins and vein issues. And standing all day as a nurse and so forth meant that, so as we get older, sometimes it's better to get that internal medicine doctor. So she says, hi there. Before we start the video, I got 2 stars. Let me see what's going on. Oh, I've got everybody. Okay, good. If you could give a thumbs up and subscribe, that would be awesome, because I just showed you what her viewer stats are. So this is somebody who needs to get up the algorithm, because if you go and put Foodie Beauty in to YouTube, it's going to show you 10 reaction channels before you even get to her. And so she is so down on her own algorithm. And she's not getting the views. She's probably not getting the engagement because she deletes so many comments from her lives and so forth, and from her actual videos, that she's probably not showing the engagement that makes YouTube think, yeah, I want to push this person up the algorithm. And if anybody understands YouTube, they understand it's not about just subscriber numbers. That's YouTube is like, I guess they realize that, you could be a big 100K channel like Chantel and have terrible engagement. And advertisers want to know, how does your audience engage with you, rather than how are your, what is your sub count? That's something that YouTube is just not that interested in. They really don't. She doesn't change her diet. And that is a problem. All of these medications are made to be with diet and exercise. So if she's believing that this insulin is her panacea, that it's going to be her great cure-all, is not actually true. Lantus comes with a lot of warnings about kidney function and can bring on kidney infections. And I almost feel like when she's talking about the kidney infection, she's not, she potentially could have a UTI, but I think she's masking and choosing language that is not being completely truthful. Like, yes, she has probably kidney problems. Her glomerular filtration rate was probably not great. I don't know if they did any, because they're going to check to make sure too. The higher dose of Lantus is also given for people who are in ketosis. So she could have potentially gotten a urine sample and they would have seen her in ketosis. My thought is that her hemoglobin A1C was greater than 8.5. And that is the reason why they started her on 15 units. And I don't know if somebody gave her 5 initially, because they're usually trying to see if you're not going to get hyperglycemic. It is just a long-acting basilar insulin that this is why she doesn't understand it. It just kind of runs underneath your other, diabetes or your blood sugar control. It's not something that is positioned to have you thinking, it's not one that you're going to count your carbs and then you're going to use the insulin to cover you for eating that. It's one that you take at night, generally at nighttime before bed. And it then keeps you even throughout the day with taking the blood sugar out of your bloodstream. It's not one that is going to be able to be dosed around food. You generally take it before bed at night. That is when you usually take that drug so that it can work throughout the day. So take her meds before they give her fast-acting insulin. Yeah, they can be doing that, but like I said, she's not in a country to be managed unless she's a tourist in Kuwait. This is where it's like people are like, oh, well, she's seeing the doctor. The doctor is not going to manage a tourist in a foreign country. It's not, that's the time where you're supposed to get your ass home, pardon my French, and go home and see your doctors. She is not a resident of this country. She can talk about seeing all these private doctors and so forth, but she's going to be paying privately out of pocket. And I would not be surprised if she's not crossing over to why we haven't seen her is because her actual doctor's appointments are in the United Arab Emirates and not in Kuwait. That she because they have gotten very strict laws. She walks in there on a tourist visa asking for long-term medical care. They're going to be wondering what's going on. Like, why is this, foreign Canadian here trying to get long-term medical care in Kuwait? So they've been cracking down, but she doesn't want people to know that because she's got to give this persona that everything in her life is going well. That's what I'm kind of sensing. It's just my opinion, obviously. She needs to have a schedule. Going to sleep is really important for her too. Like, this is why she is just such a source of misinformation. She doesn't keep a regular bedtime schedule. When I looked at the video and saw how she was disposing of the shops, it was absolutely disgusting. I almost cannot even watch it because she literally had her medical items where her food items were on this table. Oh, Miss Marta coming in. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. She has meds before. Now it's meds plus insulin. Is it worse? Yes. It's absolutely worse. Usually the reason why she started on her illnesses are getting her diabetes, obviously, after we just saw that food, is her pancreas. She's either getting insulin resistance, which I'm sure she's at that place where she is insulin resistant now because she's never accompanied this with diet and exercise. You cannot be a type 2 diabetic and be that sedentary and eating the amount of fast junk food that she was eating and be just on Janumet and think that everything was going great. That is not going to happen. You need to actually be exercising in order to create enough energy expenditure in the body for your cells to want to be able to take the insulin in. So at this point, her pancreas has probably been so taxed in creating, the insulin to go into the blood cells and taxing this pancreas out that she is actually, her cells are just no longer, taking up any insulin. It's like insulin is the key that opens up into your body's cells to allow the insulin in order for you to get the energy function working in your body cells that need to go into either your muscles or your sort of your organs or whatever's functioning. It all requires energy. And she has reached a point where she is either depleted of her pancreas is just no longer producing insulin, or she's become insulin resistant, meaning that her insulin is not getting into her cells as it was. So she's either I don't have her medical record, so I don't know. But usually, unless you accompany this with diet and exercise, and I mean like really starting to change your behaviors, she is just going to remain insulin dependent for the rest of her life. And she will be on multiple insulins. She'll be on a short acting where you are actually checking people's blood sugar and you need to give Humulin before they eat. And she would have to be needing to carb count and understand how much she's eating carbohydrate wise, and then actually dosing the medication for that. on top of being on a long-acting insulin like Lantus. And Lantus, from what I understand, can only work for about 18 to 20 hours effectively. It's an older generation insulin. It's not a newer generation insulin. And so it's not like Trujero or one of the newer ones that would actually give you a good 24-hour coverage. So there is a good 6 to, hours, 4 hours that potentially that Lantus is not even giving her a basal. It's just supposed to give her a basal to help clear the blood sugars out of her bloodstream. And it's just to help her manage that because her pancreas is not producing enough insulin in order to get into the body cells. That's why they're having to give her the insulin, because either she's becoming insulin resistant, or she could, if she doesn't actually make changes in her lifestyle, become to the point where she is insulin dependent because she is no longer producing insulin from her pancreas. Her pancreas just says, cut it out. Right. She'll never follow any of it. Absolutely. Oh, she just uploaded? How? I tell you, I haven't gone live with a Chantel in forever. I'm surprised she's not going live. I swear she wants me to react to these things. I'm not doing it, Foodie. I'm sticking to my plan today. I swear she wants free medical advice from me. Girl, you're failing on it. So yeah. Her cravings? Is it normal for people to have so many cravings? Well, when you've, addicted to sugar and salt the way she is, and your pancreas isn't working properly, you're going to have polyphagia, which means that you're going to be wanting to eat more than anything. I mean, it's the 3 hallmarks: the polyphagia, the polydipsia, and the polyuria. All you want to do is eat, piss, and drink stuff, fluid, all the time, because your body, your body is saying, hey, I need to produce energy. I need to get this blood sugar into my cells, and the insulin needs to come along as the little key to open up the cells in your body and say, all right, insulin, come on in. And come on in, blood sugar, do your job. And if her insulin isn't functioning properly to open up her body cells as the key, it's not going to get those blood sugars in. It's just going to float around. So basically, they're giving her medications. One, if she's on, obviously with the Lantus, it's an insulin, but it also helps, get you, because there's different types of insulin. It's one that actually helps with the blood glucose, but obviously it starts to become taxing to the kidneys because it's trying to flush all this blood glucose out. So she's going to need, to have regular kidney monitoring on this drug. And Lantus can cause problems with her heart too. So I'm not sure when they put her on simvastatin, which is a statin medication. A lot of people are familiar with statins, that they will actually, cause potentially, a lot of people don't like it because it causes muscular pains in the legs. But obviously, they've either put her on it because she came back with a cholesterol panel where her LDL, her low density lipoproteins, were high, and they realized they needed to get that down, or they did it for a protective reason because they know that she's diabetic. That causes metabolic syndrome. Part of the side effect of metabolic syndrome is an increase in atherosclerotic plaque in the coronary arteries. And so they know that they need to start doing things to protect the heart. So there could be, like I said, I would literally need to look at her medical history to understand exactly the reasons being, like, was she put on the statin because she had a high LDL, which I'm sure she does. I'm sure her LDL is out the sky, but I don't know what dose she is. Simvastatin is a pretty usually it's either a low or moderate dose medication. It's not one of your higher levels of a statin, which atorvastatin is, Lipitor. So there is, like, there's different levels of statin. And if it's really bad, they may put you on a torvastatin, a Lipitor. They could put you on like 40, I think it's 20 or 40 on the Lipitor. Don't quote me on that. I used to know these by heart when I worked at the cardiac clinic. But they're trying to be heart protective. It's, does she not on blood pressure meds? I have no idea. And a lot of times nowadays, they're starting to combine the statin medications with another medication called azimbatide, also which is known as Zetia. And there has been a lot of studies that have shown that for people who have high levels of LDL cholesterol, that putting people on the two drugs actually would help you lower cholesterol faster, your bad cholesterol. I doubt she has any good high density lipids. I'd be curious to know. I would like to know what her hemoglobin A1C is, because like I said, if it's greater than 8.5, which I'm sure it is based on what she's been eating for the past 3 months and the lack of exercise, and probably potentially stress. Stress will also do a number on you. She has very bad sleeping patterns. Sorry, my hair is going wild here. She has very bad sleeping patterns. So you need to have good sleep to help manage your blood sugars too. And she is somebody who loves to get up in the middle of the night and do stuff and eat stuff at night. And you really need to have, you really have to be, once you get these types of diagnoses, really be very regimented. Okay. Anyway, I get so many questions, and I could, the sciatica. I'm not even talking about that. I'm not even talking about the sciatica. That's like such a far. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get this. I guess all my neighbors are on the internet. This is why I did not want to go live during a storm, because I knew I'd probably lose my wireless connection. So I apologize. I don't know why I hope you can hear me okay. She was taking Pete's antidepressants. Oh, that's not good. That's not good that she was taking Pete's antidepressants, because I'm sure Canada has the same laws about sharing medications. That's really dangerous, because certain antidepressants can actually, if you're on an SSRI, there are certain antidepressants you need to watch and monitor patients for a couple of weeks, because it can actually make you more depressed. And these drugs need to be taken scheduled. They need to be taken at the same hour, especially diabetes medications. You really have to be very consistent. She cannot just be giving herself Lantus in the middle of the day. That is not how that drug works. Usually you take it before bed at night. That is generally when you give the Lantus dose. I promise you, I've given many. And you can get I've had patients who are probably not as heavy as Chantel, and they've been on 30 some units of that drug and more. And Cheekbones can confirm that you can get up to some pretty high numbers of units. I promise you, she's on the starter dose based probably on her A1C being over 8.5. So yeah, she's ridiculous. Yeah, she said her A1C was 9. Well, that's why she's on 15 units of Lantus. Because when I was reading through Epicratis today, so I went to one of my websites where I was that I use called Epicratis. It's one that's used by medical professionals to look at the drugs. I often look to see about having drug interactions. And so I was looking on that and looking about the Lantus, and it's basically like, if you have liver, heart, kidneys, none of it is good for any of those organs. So if she thinks this, Lantus is going to be like like I said, the panacea to all of her problems. No, it's something that you're going to have to be more monitored now that you're taking insulin. This is not like carte blanche, eat whatever the heck you want. You actually can do yourself some harm if you do not take these drugs properly. Kim says psych meds, if not administered properly and monitored, can get you manic. They can make you suicidal. Absolutely. They can risk that you want to unalive yourself, which is why anybody who is starting, often they will say to families, make sure that you're monitoring the person for the first 2 weeks that they start to take these medications, because their thoughts of unaliving themselves can actually be increased. It's not just like the only one that's like you could take and not feel completely like, and still there's problems with benzodiazepines, but something like a Valium or an Ativan is like probably, they're all addictive though. But yeah, even taking Sertraline without proper supervision. Exactly. Yes. Sertraline. Absolutely. Absolutely. And unfortunately, I did have a friend of mine whose wife unalived herself starting these medications. And I don't know if it was explained to them. And I never let my friend know this because obviously he just lost his wife who had a child, with a small child at the time. And I didn't want to come in as a medical professional and say, oh, didn't you monitor her for the first 2 weeks? That was, that's where you have to be very cautious. But yeah, I've actually had friends where their spouses have unalived themselves starting on Sertraline and I don't think they realized, and it was within the first 2 weeks. So you literally have to keep an eye on these people closely. So she, the way that she is so willy-nilly, which is a silly word, but yeah, she stated numerous times she gets antidepressants over the counter. I wonder which one she actually gets. I'd be curious to know which types of because it's just not the type of there's so many side effects and you can't just take them and stop them. You have to actually titrate down. It's not to be anything. Obviously, you just cannot do that without proper supervision and therapy. It's just not, you really need to be monitored on these drugs. I know we just live in the world of TikTok and everyone doing crazy stuff. And talking, there's so many people who are giving so much bad information and, they caveat it by saying, go talk to your medical provider. But she is the person that you should never get medical advice from. And this is why this video was so sort of distressing to me as a healthcare professional, because she actually believes she's educating people. She was on Wellbutrin. Okay. Well, Wellbutrin still has side effects, and still you need to be monitored by a health professional on Wellbutrin. Yeah, you still need to be monitored. That's one that's also used for smoking cessation too, because I've actually been doing something about nicotine dependence this week. Yeah, you remember for the first 2 weeks, the tension rising for a long time before it goes back to normal. Right, very dangerous if you're not consulted. Yeah, you cry. Oh, Kim. Well, I'm just glad that you got through that and that you are hopefully getting the relief that you want from these medications and they're working and functioning. So I didn't even put my lights on. I'm so sorry. My lighting changes. Let me try to put some light on in here. Here we go. I rushed in here. I didn't even put my ring light on because I was like, I don't want to be late. Okay. All right, let me get over to here. It says, hi there. Before we start the video, if you could a thumbs up, subscribe, that would be awesome. And we already talked why she'd want a thumbs up and a subscribe. Also, I love hearing from you guys and read all your comments. So please leave me something because she needs engagement. Her channel needs engagement, okay? I only ask that it is kind or constructive. Well, I know that people try to leave you constructive comments, Chantel, and that usually is accompanied with you deleting it because you don't actually like the constructive. Constructive to Chantel is telling her she's awesome, okay? She doesn't want to hear anything bad. She wants to have engagement, but she doesn't want to have criticism. And this says a lot about where she is currently in my mind. And this is just my opinion, my opinion, and I'm not treating diagnosing anybody. Just kind of tells you that she doesn't feel as good about herself as she wants to lead you to believe she is. That she is somebody who is struggling, in my mind, with how she perceives and feels at this time. And so the only types of comments that she is mentally able to read are ones that are kind and constructive or kind. She doesn't want any negativity is bad, okay? Probably she's been told by any doctor that she does need to watch her stress. So whether her being online and being the type of person that she is, and as far as being a problematic individual on YouTube, I personally, as a medical professional, would recommend that she does not engage on this platform at this time, or TikTok, because TikTok, I understand, is the wild, wild west over there. So I don't know how they can monitor the types of comments that would be left in her chats or comment section. And obviously, if she's getting negative comments, it's going to reflect more. She's going to sit there and think about it. Even, I don't tend to get too many negative comments, but I get some wild ones on occasion. And obviously, even I myself will sit back and think, oh, that really kind of hit in a place that hurts, So you've got to be very thick-skinned to have an online presence, because people, are hiding behind a keyboard. They can hide behind an avatar, they can hide behind filters, as we know, and you can end up, you almost don't want to read. Like I have one where sometimes I get some wild stuff, and I really don't pay attention. I just delete stuff. If it seems like just people are being filthy mouthed, I have no interest in reading it. Why do I care? It's not adding to a conversation. It's not adding to a debate. And I feel like now that we're kind of across the globe in an election season year, that along with the politics, it just heightens and people are just happy to be, saying negative things. I mean, instead of, some people are super kind. I'm so glad that people tend to be very kind in my chat. But there's a lot of bullying that goes along with it. There was a mom on TikTok, and I understand now the people who she suspected bullied her children are now going to sue her. There's certain times where you just don't want too much of your personal life out there, because people will use that against you. And Chantel, that's what she has done. That's how she made money, by being like one of the most dislikable people on YouTube. I mean, that, in my opinion, is what she was. She was an unlikable individual. She didn't care about her animals. She didn't seem to care about any of it. Yeah, toxic. That's a good word, Bubbles and Marshmallow. Thank you. It's so toxic. Yeah, she needs to log off. Exactly. But it's her only income, and how much could Salah be making with this sprays? We don't know how much Salah makes in that business, even what his stake in that business is. I don't think it's because she has such problematic behavior. It's hard to understand what's the truth. Obviously, she's truthfully on medications because she has the medications in front of her. All right, let's get over to this video. So I'm not surprised, but in my perspective, as somebody who's starting to be a mental health professional, I think really the best thing that Chantel could do for herself at this time is remove herself from YouTube, go back home to Canada, go with her family, and get herself into treatment if she really is interested in saving her life. But I think she's more interested, and again, these are my opinions, in trying to one-up people in Girl World. She is in such a toxic anger towards other certain reaction channels who she perceives get more views, more likes, more money. And she could go to view stats and quite easily see, the types of views. I don't know certain channels if they monetize, because they would potentially break YouTube's terms of service. So they may not need to monetize, because they get so much fan funding through super chats, super thanks, super stickers throughout their live streams, that they don't need to actually rely on YouTube's AdSense. And I think that just gets under her skin. I think the fact that these people are also just not wasting their money and putting it towards actual financial goals is something else that gets under her skin, because she's somebody who just wasted her money, absolutely wasted her money. And so I think she's kind of reaching a point where her YouTube channel, as we saw, is starting to fail. People are tired of the Chantel cycle. They're tired of her trying to now monetize her health and get sympathy when everybody could see that she was obviously going to arrive at this point. All right, let me get into this video. All right, so this is interesting, and I like I said, as somebody studying mental health, people are going to be negative in your comments, Chantel. I think the only way that you can remove this type of negativity from your life is to potentially get offline. Just take yourself offline, go home, because you can't obviously sustain Salah if you're not making your income. And I don't know if just doing cameos for people with potentially fetishes is going to be able to be enough. I think you need to probably, they may have caveats that they want her putting this out on YouTube and doing these things, because that's also the thrill that they receive. You know, so there's so many things underlying. Oh, let me get this video going, because we're about to have a big storm in my area. I can hear the thunder rumbling in the background. All right, let's get going, Chantel. Oh, I said get going, Chantel.
Hello, guys. Hello, darlings. I'm super excited. I'm super happy. And I woke up from a nap. I took my blood sugar, and it's been the lowest it's been so far in a long while, like since being sick. So my blood sugars have been going up and down, but
And obviously, probably she wasn't feeling well because she was hyperglycemic. And that hyperglycemia, probably she had additional blood sugars. Those blood sugars probably spilled into the kidneys. That increase of blood sugar is going to increase your potential for getting urinary tract infection. So she potentially did have a UTI of some sort. You want to go into the shower? Do I have to let everyone see that I didn't get a chance to make my bed this morning? Okay. Oh. Sorry. G-Bug likes to hide my shower during the storms, and I think we're about to get some thunder over here. So yeah, this is an act. This is all an act. It's illegal for her. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. She's sitting in Kuwait. She's making her YouTube videos in Kuwait. She's probably claiming, and I've seen it, that she's in Canada. That's where she says. That means, and it's very important to YouTube to know where your location is, because your AdSense is based on that. So she's saying that she's in Canada getting Canadian AdSense, and she's not in Canada. I don't know. Hey, James, come on in. Come on in. I know that she was taking escapalamin over the counter. Oh, gosh. So she was okay. Yeah. Well, she'd be better, not just taking these types of medications for anxiety disorders and depression just over the counter. She needs to talk to somebody. I know she doesn't want to talk to anybody because she doesn't want to have any mirrors reflecting onto herself. I think that she needs to do some deep work at this point. I think she needs to talk to somebody about how it's negatively affected her being somebody who is on this platform, the persona that she has created, and she's at a place where she's yes, they are dangerous. Yes, they are. That's why it always surprises me that these things are over the counter in other places. I know that some people think we over monitor around here. You're grateful? Great. Oh, you're saying hello. Oh, sorry. Her hospital stays with all the tests and drugs was less than $50, guys. Whatever. We don't even know if that's true. I understand healthcare in Kuwait is quite expensive privately. It's not that inexpensive. That's not what I've understood from doing any type of research. But she thinks that, I guess, that she's the smartest person in the room. She has the smartest person in the room syndrome, in my mind, that nobody quite, and that is because potentially she does have narcissistic personality traits. And that narcissism also, those traits showed through with the fact that she doesn't want to hear negative comments, because narcissists don't want to hear negative comments. People with narcissistic personality traits want to have people who are fawning over them. So it could be that before, getting the negative traits had a payoff because it came with super thanks or a super chat, so when people wanted to send her a negative comment, it came with money. And so that was the payoff in her mind. Well, I don't care that you said this terrible thing about me because now I made money from it. And now she's going to be like, oh, no, now I'm just getting negative comments and I'm not even getting the views or the money, but I need to get the engagement because YouTube's algorithm works on engagement. So she's, their lies. Well, absolutely. Oh, I promise you, I had to take care of a grandiose narcissist at end of life, and it was a wild experience. I promise you. It was one of the most interesting cases of my work in the hospice. Was working with this poor gentleman, and I think we were able to get him stable enough to get transferred to an assisted living facility. But it was wild. It was wild trying to work with that patient because the narcissism, the grandiose narcissism was almost exacerbated by end of life, which often can come with a lot of other behaviors that are very strange that people would not expect that suddenly happens when people get close to end of life. It's quite fascinating. A little bit morbid, but it was definitely fascinating. And it's probably part of the reason why I've become so much more interested in psychiatric mental health. But Chantel, in my mind, needs deep therapy to face a lot of her challenges if she really wants to get better. I don't think, though, because of certain personality traits that she has, if she ever thinks that she needs other people to get better. So anyway, let's keep going, Chantal.
They've been not going down very much. When I got sick on July 1st, basically, they were high. Like, the highest was 25 mmol. I'll try to convert that for you guys, but maybe not. I don't.
That is outrageous. I'm always surprised that she's so calm when she says these numbers. That's hospitalization. That's like literally you need to be on the glucomander. That's a hospitalization. I don't know, that's outrageous. She's, that's because she spent weeks eating all that food and was actually misusing her Janumet because she didn't accompany it with diet or exercise. She just thought if she took an extra dose, which is not advised, and that actually is hard on the kidneys too, that medication. So she's probably not only given herself a UTI, she's probably done some kidney damage along the way. And then I know her heart is probably going to be having issues. I think she's not, I sometimes sense she's not fully truthful. I also wonder when we know she lies, that she said she was never going to talk about her health because she doesn't want people discussing her health. But then she comes back out with a health video because what other content does she have? And she needs to make content. And I also wonder too, is she here for sympathy, thinking this is going to get sympathy from people? Like, oh no, we feel so bad because, traditionally in our cultures, when people become sick or unwell, people get really protective and really sympathetic. There's talk as to whether she's thinking that Salah would have more sympathy and maybe feel like he needs to do more for her because she's sickly, So again, is it a way to get more attention to her, because she's not well. She's a sick person. But the difficulty here is that people understand how type 2 diabetes work. People understand that a lot of times type 2 diabetes has been often because of choices that you make in your lifestyle and choices that aren't beneficial to the person. So I think it's much more difficult for people in her situation to garner the sympathy that you would normally get for somebody who's having a medical issue. And Chantel, I think, is somebody who likes the attention, enjoys the attention, has enjoyed negative attention if it comes with money, and likes hearing the positive attention because she's very, she's got a very big ego. You can see that her ego is quite large, I believe, when you look at her. And I'm sorry if you can hear the rain suddenly. We're about to have a big storm here. So I apologize. I hope my internet stays up. And I apologize for the background noise. I'm in a room where I have a skylight. So the rain could be potentially heard. So I just want to apologize. I think there's a lot going on. A lot going on. She's becoming more of a fascinating study for me. I cannot correct anything. Like I said, I'm not treating or diagnosing. Keep going.
I don't know.
That's
It's very
ridiculous. That's
Googleable. I
absolutely
apologize if I
outrageous.
forget or
You hear no
whatever.
rain? Oh, good.
So I have an update for you guys. Part 2 on, I went to my first follow-up appointment at the internal medicine.
Oh.
I was basically, this is a follow-up appointment that was made by the doctor in observation at the emergency department when I went there. So my journey.
I find that interesting, and I wonder if it's happening in another country rather than Kuwait, considering she's a tourist. This is part of the act that Chantel likes to give. And she almost she doesn't sound that concerned, which I am, just she needs to have more concern in this health. I don't know if this, like I said, is an act because she doesn't, she has all these reaction channels in girl world. So I almost don't think this is for her audience. I think this is for certain reaction channels that she is putting this mask on. Or it could just be simple denial. It's hard to say. I would need to give questionnaires out to her to try to find out really where is she mentally in this journey, because it's difficult to really ascertain in this respect. But there's it's like, how much of this is her faking for the audience, faking it for girl world, faking it for certain reaction channels, and how much of this on this side is Chantel's denial that this is really a serious issue? Has she bounced back so many times because of the grace of modern medicine that it's just she's not even with a 450 blood sugar, which should scare the life out of you. Should absolutely scare the life out of you. That is a medical emergency. That's a phone call to the doctor at the hospital. Okay, that's not a blood sugar to ignore. It's like you are on an insulin drip at this point. You're being monitored on glucomander. That is just that is out. It astounds me that it's like, what? I don't even know if until she, and I don't wish this upon anybody, it's like, if you have a stroke, Chantel, and if it's ischemic, which means due to a blockage that is causing a lack of oxygen to your brain, and if you're on a statin medication, potentially because you are getting higher levels of LDL cholesterol, which are ones that will build up the plaque inside your coronary arteries and therefore deplete the amount of oxygen getting delivered, because your heart is going to say, shoot, I need this for my breathing. I need this for the heart. There's the A in my circulation. Oh, I don't really worry about the brain. And it will you could get an ischemic stroke. And if they don't get you in time to the hospital, they can't get that TPI reversal agent in you. You've got a certain time frame, under 6 hours, that you've got to get it. And if it's caused you any type of paralysis, that's it. You've got that weakness on that left-sided weakness usually, or that's going to stay. Or right side, whichever way it went. But whichever side that stroke went on, it will leave you that way. Good luck trying to get that. I had a friend who recently had a stroke, and he has now right-sided weakness. Gratefully, he is a left-handed person, but he has weakness on that side, and they are trying all sorts of trials and placebos and things because he has not been able to return to work, and he is just trying to get better so he can get permission to drive again. the delusion is high. And the fact that she's sitting here looking so calm and that, anyway, let me keep going. I'm always
has been
astounded.
going to a clinic
I'm astounded.
and a private clinic, basically getting assessed, getting blood work done, urine sampled, whatever I could provide, because you guys saw in my picture where I'm like trying to drink those little cups of water. Like, I don't know why, but I wasn't giving out anything that day, hardly. So probably because of the infection. But and every time I think of that, I want to drink water.
Girl, if you weren't peeing a lot that day, it's because your heart wasn't being able to perfuse your kidneys. Your heart basically said, God, I don't have the energy to perfuse your kidneys. So, and if you can't do that, then what's going to happen is you're not even being able to excrete your blood sugars with those drugs you're taking. So you're basically, your heart was saying at that point, it's nothing to do with the infection. Infection is a side effect of that happening. It's like you got the infection because you probably had an abundance of blood sugar and it just didn't help your kidneys. But not urinating, girl, that's a sign of heart problems. That's one of the reasons why we monitor to make sure with patients who have heart failures that they're actually urinating 30 ml per an hour of urine. Because if it's not, that means your heart it's got nothing to do with an infection. That's your heart going, sweetie. That's your heart. This is why this person shouldn't be out here doing any type of education out here. She is so, she's like saying, oh, must be the infection. You have no idea. And you're in a foreign country where you don't speak the language. Probably most of those doctors speak English because English is the international language for medicine. So she's very fortunate that most of them probably speak English, because to read most papers or to engage in most academic journals, you're going to, English is the language they use. So she's very fortunate in that respect. That just happens to be the language used internationally for medicine because it was the dominant language. Keep going. Keep horrifying me. Sorry.
Having a kidney infection and diabetes will make you so thirsty. I always used to wonder why my grandma always, like growing up, always was obsessed with having a glass of water. Like she had to have water, like it was like air for her. She always had to have water with her. She could not go out somewhere without water. And now I'm like that. So
she was probably having been told that she shouldn't be drinking fizzy drinks or sugar water or anything of that nature, or fruit juices, which is just, concentrated sugar water. And she probably was trying to keep the kidneys, but if you start to have problems with your kidneys, too much water can also be a bad thing too, because it's still, your kidneys still have to flush that water out. Stay away from caffeinated drinks, Chantel. Okay, and sodas have caffeine, even if they're sugar-free. They often have caffeine in them. Guess what caffeine is? A diuretic. Guess what diuretics make you do? Pee. All right, Chantel, keep going.
Oh. I should have seen it as like foreshadowing. I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Anyways, so I was given, because
yeah, the voice tone is something that's very interesting, because she's trying to act like, oh, I've just never, it's this, yes, it's this very innocent, I'm just sweet. I think it's this like, oh, poor me, look at me, I'm sick, oh, but it must be, she's so unaware, or sorry, she's so not in tune with her body. And I know she's picking a certain speech pattern in order to garner sympathy from her audience. Like, I think she wants, this illness to have the next time she goes live is that people will go into her chat and start sending her money because they feel so bad for her. How was she to know? You know, how was she to know that she shouldn't have been eating all those carbs? She knew exactly what she was doing. She was almost rage eating some of those times. She knew exactly very well. She cannot have been 40 years on this earth having the number of medical conditions she has, and Beatus runs to the ER in Canada to get her on those fluids, the dextrose and the normal saline, in order to get those blood sugars down, because they're trying to flush it out, and the poor organ that ends up being affected because you've got to flush it out is your kidneys. They are the organ that you are going to be putting all the pressure on, is going to be the kidneys, because that's the excreting organ. So her poor kidneys have just been put through the ringer, but she's all calm, like, oh, I've got it fixed now. We know she's not, because she cannot stay consistent with any of her treatment plans. She's not consistent. And I think she's just using it for content at the moment, that she's supposedly getting all this medical care because she wants to prove to people that she is at home in Kuwait, that this is not just a country that she's going in on a tourist visa, that she is a resident, she lives there, that's where her life is, yet she pays no taxes in this country. So I think the Kuwait government is calling for their taxes, because I know when I worked and lived in Mexico, guess where I paid my taxes? Mexico. I wasn't paying taxes in the UK. I was paying taxes in Mexico. So where's your tax base, Chantel? Are you trying to avoid paying any type of taxes at this time? I don't know. I don't think Kuwait is a tax-free nation. I don't think it is.
Well, I was in the emergency
I don't
department.
know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So basically, after the clinic, they saw my numbers, and specifically like the creatinine level and like the urinalysis that came back.
Not good.
The doctor was concerned, and he was like, you need...
Yes, the doctor was concerned, because having a high creatinine, that's not good, girl. That could show that your kidneys aren't doing their job properly. They're not working correctly. It's not good to have high creatinine levels.
Need to go to the emergency. I'm going to write you a letter to go there with the concern. So
yes, they're concerned.
I spent some time in the hospital, in the observation department, the women's observation, and the doctor made me a couple follow-up appointments. He made me a follow-up appointment with...
They have to make you follow-up appointments. That's part of what they do, even here in the United States. And they probably tried to do that for you in Canada as well, but you probably just ignored it. I'm sure when you beezed into that ER in Canada, they wanted you to follow up with your primary care, because that usually they want you to follow up with somebody, because hospitals are not made to manage chronic illnesses. That's not what hospitals are designed for. Hospitals are there to take care of acute conditions. Obviously, having a high creatinine is an acute condition that needs to be treated at the hospital level. And the fact that they, had to emergency you in there, not good. But you're not a resident there, because in the United States, you probably would have been taken onto a floor to start to get those blood sugars down into a reasonable level. Go and probably, I want to see an echocardiogram on this girl. I need to know what her ejection fraction is. She never exercises. Her heart the heart is a muscle. And if you don't exercise it, you can't be sedentary the way she has and expect your heart to function like somebody who gets out and gets a walk every day. It doesn't happen that way. The heart is a muscle. It likes to be exercised. If you're not exercising it, and you're putting pressure and you're getting high blood pressure because you're not exercising, it's going to thicken the walls of your heart muscle. And that's not a good thing, because then it's got less ability to squeeze blood out of the ventricle and around the body, providing circulation and oxygenated blood. Everything works in tandem to create homeostasis. Basically, you are not in homeostasis, Chantel. Sorry. She's so bad.
Internal medicine, like to follow up regarding everything, the medications they put me on.
There you
my
go.
blood sugar levels and this and that. And then a little slip to go anytime to set up an appointment for some diabetic education.
Yes, if she keeps putting this much damage and her kidneys just can't keep, you can't just keep expecting to go in and get diuresis like this. I mean, you can. I've seen heart failure patients do it. But if she's got high blood pressure going along with that she's not managing, oh, she'll end up in dialysis. The kidneys won't be able to filter everything out correctly. That's why it's so important, especially if you're going to be on Lantus. It does not do good with the kidneys. It is not a kidney-friendly drug. You have to monitor those kidneys closely and the heart. So if she thinks Lantus is her oh, I got insulin. No, they put you on a basal one. If she's hoping to get more, that's not a good thing, girl. And you're somebody who's not adherent to treatment plans. So you have a real problem with taking things timely. And all these medications, that's why they tell you to take it at a certain time every day. It's because they know the mechanism of action on these drugs or these doses, what their life is of the drug as far as its duration of working in your body. They talk about half-lives. Something like I said, Lantus is shown, even though it's supposed to be for 24 hours, it's an older generation drug. In reality, it's only 18 to 20 hours effective. So it's almost 6 hours that you're not really getting effective work from that drug. Its efficacy is decreased. So, and you have to take it at the same time every day. There's like an hour window. It's all right, baby. There's like an hour. Anyway, let me keep going. I get so heated by her today.
I will do very
Sorry,
soon.
I'm trying to stay not heated.
So yeah, so I had my appointment.
Yeah, poor kidneys.
On Wednesday.
Put them in the chat.
Today's Thursday.
Poor kidneys.
I was discharged from the hospital Monday night. So that didn't give me a lot of time to try the new medication. It was only a day and a half maybe until I had my follow-up appointment.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went there.
Oh God, the pickles.
And I failed to look at the bottom of the doctor just took my phone, took a picture of the appointment, but I didn't see the bottom where it said, please come between 2 and 5 p.m. So the clinic was only between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. So
this is already a problem. That she was unaware of the times that the clinic was open. This shows her negligence, I think, towards her health. Is that she does not even care enough to be in a timely manner to her follow-up appointments. That's how little she cares. That's kind of what I'm perceiving. Because if you really cared about yourself, you're going to be 5 minutes early and the first person there. She didn't even, did Salah not take a look at the paperwork with you? This is your responsibility as the patient. You as a patient also have responsibility to make sure that you're reading the instructions fully when you get discharged. Why they give you all these papers. Now, the nurse should have highlighted, if they, at least in the United States, when you're discharging someone from the hospital, which is why it can take so long to discharge. And people just think that, your nurse is going to walk into the room and say, okay, you can go now. No, you need to sit down with those discharge papers and make sure that you educate your patient on whatever needs to be educated. And a big part of that education is making sure that they know what their follow-up times are going to be and their appointment times. This is just says that she was goofing around all day or just waking up and doing whatever. She does not care. She's still this 450, which would be hospitalization. Obviously, she was hospitalized. She doesn't care. It's astounding to me. It's astounding. And so, why anybody else would have sympathy for this person or empathy for this person in her audience? They shouldn't. Because she doesn't care enough about herself. So why should other people care more? Oh, because she's somebody who probably has narcissistic personality traits and everybody is supposed to be fawning and telling her and doing what she wants to do. So, I mean, in my opinion, And I'm not treating or diagnosing.
I went, early in the morning with Salah, and we had to come back in the afternoon. So that's fine. We came back in the afternoon, and we saw the doctor, and he just basically was like, okay, how are you doing? How are your blood sugars? And my blood sugars at that time, like I tested my blood sugar.
And that's what I'm thinking, is that the nurse role in the Middle East may be different. But that's why they also, in the United States, I know that in the hospitals, that's why, sometimes families get frustrated because they think they're picking up their loved one from the hospital, and maybe they took a break from work or something, and they can just pick up the person and go. And in reality, there's a lot of teaching and educating that happens on discharge day. It's not just like, oh, you're discharged, bye. And for patients who are new to the hospital system or being in hospital, it can be frustrating because they just want to go. They want to be out of the hospital. They're tired of the noise. They're sick of the smells. They want out. And it can be very stressful for the nurse, because that's why they say that we're to educate the patient the second they walk in the hospital. Educate, educate, educate. So that the patients, when they do leave, are able to be fully aware of what their responsibilities are to their health once they are discharged from hospital. So there's a lot of teaching that needs to be involved, and obviously insurance is, cuts the stays in the hospital once the bed empty. So there's a lot of pressures that get put onto the nursing staff. But it's a key importance. I used to have patients, they'd be so frustrated because I would have to do my education piece. I mean, we do it along the way, but the discharge instructions, talking about the follow-up appointments, have you got the and there's only but so much you can do, because there obviously there are the patient's rights as well you have to think of, but also the patient does have their responsibilities too. And Chantel has been handheld probably through the Canadian system, has gotten away with a lot. Anyway, keep going.
Before going to the appointment, and it was like 18.5, so it was really high. And I was just like getting discouraged because
oh gosh. And you brought up a good point, thank you, Mrs. Murta, because I also am thinking that if she's the way her eyesight is, and if you've ever seen how tiny those units are for insulin, they're minute. If her eyesight's going, she's not going to see very well to pull her insulin up. She is going to struggle, because you really want to have good eyesight and good light, because you cannot over pull on your insulin. You can't say, oh, well, it's supposed to be 10, but I pulled up 11. No, it doesn't work like that. If you've been prescribed 10, you give 10. If you've been prescribed 1 unit of Humalog to take before meals because your blood sugar was 150, then and 151 or whatever the cutoff is usually at the hospital, and you're on the 1 insulin per, depending on how many you're over on your blood sugar, you need to be really pulling these things accurately. She would have been better off with the pen, but she's thinking she can go and abuse that Lantus, not understanding it's a long-acting basal rate type that kind of underlines any of the other medications that you're taking. It kind of just like, it's supposed to keep your blood sugars even throughout the day. So you can't be jerking around the amounts that you take on this drug. You can't decide one day, oh, I want to take 15, and tomorrow I want to take 35. You will either have a hypoglycemic event, or and on top of it, you're going to start doing damage to your kidneys and your heart, because Lantus has that as a major factor of the drug. And if she's already got liver disease, which she potentially did not let her doctors know about in this other country, and maybe they weren't checking on her ALT and her ALTs and all her different liver function tests, how are they to know? She needed to let them know this, but then they probably wouldn't have given her Lantus.
I was just like really like, no matter what medications I took, whatever, nothing was working. And I remember the doctor in Ob saying to start with 5 units of insulin, which apparently was like too low, because you're supposed to also go by body weight. So the doctor,
Right. Okay. I've already talked about this. The starting dose for Lantus up to, if you're just, under an 8.5 on your A1C, is 10. That is what it clearly states on a starting dose is 10. If they gave her more than 10, they haven't based it on her weight yet. The weight base, and we don't know what Chantel weighed. If you had a normal, say, A1C, it would be 0.2 per kilo for the dose, 0.2. If your A1C is greater than 8.5, they can start you on a starting dose, I think, between 10 and 20 to see how you manage it. And they would then dose the medication at 0.25 to 0.5 per kilo on the dose weight. She's on a starting dose. They haven't dosed her by weight yet. If she was getting dosed by weight, she could potentially be on 30 some units of this drug. I actually did a weight-based dose on me. I'm 126 pounds. I am. And I did it that I would be, if it was based on my weight, Lantus, I would be on about just over 11 units. So it was about 11.1. So they'd probably round it down to 11. So if I went over 11.5, I would round up potentially to 12. Because you usually, round up. So she's not been based. She has not been weight-based dosed at this time. They gave her a starting dose, probably based on her hemoglobin A1C, and seeing that she was sitting at 450 and she's usually up in the 200s or so forth and happy with those types of blood sugars, which is just insane in my mind, because most diabetics, you want them at least under 120. She's not been, this is fictitious on her part. So she is misleading her audience with this information. Either she doesn't understand what a starting dose is, or two, and that's just because she's very uneducated when it comes to anything around medications and health. Or secondly, that she is just trying to pull one over on her audience into having them think she's thin. But I can promise you, she's nowhere near a 15 unit for a weight-based dose, even after she. So that's already a lie. I can let you know.
Doctor was like, well, yeah, 5 units of insulin is too low. So, you have to go by what your body weight is. So he checked the report.
Come on in, Eloise. Oh,
so
perfect.
Yeah, he went by that. And
Eloise, you walked in at just the right time on this stream, because I was just talking about the fact that Chantel is trying to say that 15 units of Lantus is based on her weight. And I was just giving the audience heads up that the general starting dose for Lantus, if they're starting the medication, make sure the patient obviously can tolerate the drug, is not going to have a hypoglycemic event, would be up to 10 units. Unless you had an A1C greater than 8.5, and then the dosing could be anywhere between 10 and 20 units. So 15 was probably based on her having or ketosis. So she potentially, with that 450, maybe she was in some type of diabetic ketosis at the time, and therefore they started her on that 15 Lantus. And she's actually trying to convince everybody that the 15 units is a weight-based dose for her. And I'm saying that's not what I understand from the way that Lantus is started. It's very complex, insulin and diabetic medications. It's probably one of the most complex areas that you can get into. Am I correct with that, Eloise? It's probably why I do psychiatric. So just clarify that for me. But that's why I think she's just giving a lot of lies to her audience again. She just doesn't understand, or she's intentionally lying. One of the two. It could be a combination of the both.
They weighed me at the clinic, so it was on the report that the doctor wrote for them. So they still had that in the system. And yeah, so he upped it to
because they work completely differently.
Insulin at around 10 p.m. in the evenings, and he put me on some new medications. One is I'll show you them, I guess,
Oh, come on
for educational purposes. So there's something written on this one in Arabic, and I don't know what it is, so I don't want to show you.
I'm so mad at her today. Thank you.
Zocor, 20 milligrams of Zocor.
Okay.
And this is for...
Okay, 20 milligrams of Zocor. That's probably a low intensity dose. So she's kind of on a low dose of simvastatin. I think it's 20 and 40. 20 is what they call the low dose. 40 would be a moderate dose. I'm wondering if they're just doing this as a heart protection. I'm surprised that her cholesterol wasn't out the wall. Usually after somebody has had a cardiac event here in the United States, they'll end up on 80 milligrams of Lipitor, which is a very high dose. And they might even get some Zetia in that too. So she's on a low dose simvastatin, and I almost think it's because of the potential for metabolic syndrome and trying to do some type of, protection to those atherosclerotic plaque buildup in the coronary arteries. But she probably needs to be on a higher dose of statin. But maybe they're trying to potentially lower the side effects of the drug. A lot of people don't like being on it because of the potential for rhabdomyolysis. A lot of people complain about getting muscular aches and so forth. I mean, she's somebody who, if a drug gives her a side effect, then she's not going to take it. And she thought the Janumet was the thing giving her the nausea, which potentially it was. But I also think that it was potentially her heart, because her perfusion to the stomach wasn't happening properly. So this is why I got out of acute care, guys.
He's saying that these are like baseline medications that they give here, in particular in this, at this clinic, for people who are type 2 diabetic. And, because of the organs that are affected by type 2 diabetes, number one killer apparently of diabetes is actually heart disease.
Oh, so thank you, Birdie.
He's giving me...
Yeah, Junebug is right next to me.
It's dealt with cholesterol. Zocor is actually also used, from what I read, for like chronic kidney disease. So, excuse me.
No. It's not why they... It's cholesterol lowering medication. It's a statin. Probably to help with not having atherosclerotic plaque buildup in your kidneys. Because people can have to get stented in the kidneys. She's like trying to put everything like it's interesting to, hear her wordplay about her kidneys. She obviously got some bad news on the kidneys. But usually it's for the heart. That's a medication for heart protection. To get the cholesterol down, to stop the atherosclerotic buildup in the heart and potentially in the kidneys, because people can get stents too there. Plaque will build up wherever it needs to build up in your arteries. Keep going, Chantal.
He gave me some Zocor. I take one a day of that.
Right.
It's like a tablet mukbang.
Right. I'm thinking
that's also...
I'm thinking she needs to be on a combination, Lipitor Zetia at this point. Maybe get her on 40 milligrams of Lipitor and 10 milligrams of Zetia. Might be good for her. I don't ever remember, Zocor and its kidney. I mean, it's not a kidney drug. I don't believe it's even used off-label as a kidney drug. Clarify me, Eloise. I just started my advanced pharmacology classes. So, but that's not what I understand in the cardiac world.
He also gave me
there's an off-label use I'm unaware of.
Forxiga is also a tablet.
Zocor is also known as
supposed to
simvastatin. And here in the United States, people still take simvastatin. But the most popular is generally Lipitor, tends to be more, and I think that's rosuvastatin is the one that they are probably not prescribing as much because that's a high dose statin. And I believe there was more potential for rhabdomyolysis, which is where it literally eats the muscles up in the body. And it's a very rare side effect, but obviously one that's quite dangerous. And so I think it was potentially that one that they were phasing out. But no, patients still come out on a lot of simvastatin, at least here in the US. Maybe it's different in Europe.
Help regulate blood sugar even more. So I take that once a day.
No.
Also, I still take my Genumax.
Dr. Ruth. You don't rate? You don't? That's interesting.
Twice a day with food. So one of them, like my first meal of the day.
Yes, thank you.
And then,
thank you for clearing up this misinformation here, Eloise. Yes, Zocor has nothing to do with the kidneys. That's probably an ACE inhibitor that she's been given as well, which I understand with ACE inhibitors too. If you have kidney arterial stenosis, that ACE inhibitors are not good to take. That it's like the one time that you want to make sure there's no kidney artery stenosis, because it is the only time that an ACE inhibitor would not be beneficial to the kidneys. It's like it's like very rare. So yeah. Atorvastatin is the first line in the UK. Rosuvastatin has yes. Lipitor tends to be the first line here too. Like if people are coming out from a cardiac event, like they've had a heart attack, they will be on anywhere from 40 to 80 milligrams of Lipitor, 81 milligrams of aspirin, some type of beta blocker, usually Plavix, clopidogrel. That's usually like the main ones that I see that patients will be prescribed post cardiac event. Yeah, her mind's clearly not right. She said she lost 17 pounds, but sudden weight loss on the set of, well, she's lost 17 pounds because they diuresed the heck out of her, probably because of all that sodium she was holding. I think the biggest issue for me overall was this treatment is that she seems to be under the impression that the doctors are responsible for her long-term care as a tourist. Exactly. And I'm sorry for the rain, guys. It's just starting to come like pouring down here in Virginia. So you might hear some rain on my skylight. So yeah, this is, she's like, this is why she's saying that she's educating her audience. And she doesn't even understand why she's prescribed simvastatin. She just keeps talking about her kidneys. Can kill the kidneys and stenosis. Right. But for most, it improves and maintains kidney function. Exactly. It's like the one time you really want to get a good full like patient history to make sure that they do not have the stenosis, because it will take your kidneys out. 17 kilos. That was a lot of water weight to lose. That was 30 some pounds of water weight she took off. I can promise you. That's not that was diarrhea. They diuresed her because she probably was eating so much sodium and her heart not functioning correctly. They probably diuresed her. She probably got diuresed. That's going to put a lot of work on your kidneys too. I cannot believe she just uploaded eating a shepherd's pie. She don't care. She honestly thinks that she doesn't care. She really doesn't care. Oh, I promise you. I've seen patients lose that much water weight easily. They've come into like little Michelin men, like so like filled with fluid and edema, basically edematous to the 9th degree, which is obviously going to put pressures. Yeah, she probably exactly a lot of edema. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like the little Michelin man, because she was eating all that salt. If her kidneys she wasn't peeing, that's because her heart said, "Screw this! I've got to move all this sodium around around the body. I don't have time to perfuse the kidneys." So that's why she wasn't urinating. That's classic. So they had to diurese her to get and then they want to check. Is she peeing? Because she's not peeing 30 ml an hour. Then she's like, "That's it. You're gonna have to get straight cathed. You're gonna have to get cathed because you need to get that fluid out of you." And if the kidneys stop wanting to work, guess what? It's going to happen in the end. Dialysis. Because you've got to get that. You've got to excrete. It's not just going to float away into your body. It's just going to feel. I cannot. Kathy says, to get help, you have to want help. And all Chantel wants is her own way. Yes, her defiance is literally killing her. But she'd rather die than admit she's wrong and everyone else is right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And simvastatin isn't used for your dang kidneys, Chantel. Stop lying. Yeah, exactly. Your kidneys, thank you, Eloise, can only filter so much each day. Correct. That's why it's not good to actually drink too much water. All these people running around with like 7-gallon Stanley cups, you know? It's like you can't overdo it either. You can actually become that your urine specific gravity becomes, so diluted that it actually, is not good for you. That, sometimes that's why it's good to see a little bit of yellow in your pee. If you're peeing clear, that's not necessarily good. That means that you're actually taxing your kidneys too much, that you're peeing too frequently, or you're drinking too much fluid or too much water, because it should have a little yellow to it. So if you're peeing clear, that's not necessarily a good sign. That doesn't mean that you're like, detoxing yourself. It's actually like you're putting too much work on your kidneys. Oh my goodness. Everything in moderation. The dose makes the poison. Exactly. Is there a weight limit on dialysis? I mean, I don't know about that. It may be that if it's a larger patient, they're going to try to get and it depends on the type of dialysis too, whether it's hemo dialysis or peritoneal dialysis. That's why people get the fistulas put into the arms. Oh God, can you imagine her with a fistula to manage? I wonder how much the doctors long-term side effects of the meds. The job is to stabilize her. She's supposed to be going home because she's probably said, I'm just here as a tourist, because I'm sure she's lying, because you can't be in there like, yeah, exactly. Water intoxication. Can't be just out there like, oh yeah, I'm just hanging out and, it don't work like that, girl. She's got me heated today. I'm not very therapeutic today. I started out. But I think it's because she tries to tell people she's educating people at some point. And I think it's just why. And she's out there eating a shepherd's pie. And she says, this is such bad misinformation. It's so bad. It's so bad.
So yes, I've been on like kind of a schedule where I, have to be up in the, not early morning, but in the morning enough to take the tablets and everything like that. Like I have a schedule. I have like alarms that I set for my tablets.
Chantel, that's what everybody has to do when they're taking medications. If it's once a day, it is advised that you take it at the same time every day, because guess what? If you just willy-nilly and take it whenever you want, then you're going to lose the effectiveness of your drug. The efficacy of the drug will be changed. They are based on times. It's why, at the hospital, it's like so important for the nurses to get their medications to their patients in a timely manner. So if you've got a ton of patients, the patients have 1,000 questions, and they're delaying you to the next patient, it can be stressful for the nurse, because you have to explain why you're giving the other med to the 15 other patients that you have on the floor late. Because every one of these things work on a timer. It's like if she was put on Synthroid, it's like you have to take that early in the morning on an empty stomach. And then, a lot of people will put that Synthroid, the levothyroxine, right next to the bedside so they can take that baby at 6 a.m. when the stomach is nice and empty and they haven't been eating all night, and then wait for its effects to come in, because you got to get it in, you got to digest it, and then go at 8 a.m. taking medications that may or may not require food. But they don't even want you taking that drug with another med. They want that thing on an empty stomach for its efficacy to work. So when I used to have patients coming in and telling me they prefer to take their Synthroid at night, that's like, you're not taking your drug properly. It might work for your time schedule, but the drug doesn't work that way. So the fact that she's girl, that's what you're supposed to do when you're taking medications. You're not special. She loves to be special. You're not special in this, Chantel. You're not special in this.
You know, I don't want to miss one because I have so many now, unfortunately.
Oh, hold on. Something weird happened, guys. Let me see. Hold on. What's going on? Hold on. I might have lost out with the storm. Hold on. Why is my thing acting like this? Oh, shit. I just lost everything. I'm going to have to come back in. Oh, what happened? Come on. Shut down so I can restart. Come on. Come on, computer. Sorry, everybody. For some reason, I had a weird thing happen. So I don't know what. Sorry about that. Let me get back to Chantel. I lost people along the way. Yeah, I don't know. I'm in a really bad storm at the moment in my house. So hopefully we can keep going here. Yeah, I hit a really bad thunderstorm suddenly. In Virginia Beach. I'm back. Yeah, it's something just went on my, I don't know. I guess maybe the cloud. Who knows? Okay, Chantel, I'm going to go back a second because she said some pearls of, the Farsiga. Oh, my goodness. All right.
Forxiga. Forxiga is also a tablet for type 2 diabetes. It's supposed to help regulate blood sugar even more. So I take that once a day also. I still take my Janumet.
That's, they're trying to get the best control they can give her. And it's not unusual. It's not a good sign. It means that literally she's either got insulin resistance. Eloise can potentially help with that if I haven't lost her. Insulin resistant, or she's just, she's just no longer producing insulin from her pancreas. And so they're giving her, I'm wondering if it's just the resistance of the insulin, or like it's literally she needs help getting the blood glucose out of her system. And she needs to be able to get the insulin to help, obviously, help open up the cells of her body to allow the blood glucose into the body cells. Because it's not a good sign to be on this many medications. And Farxiga, of course, comes with its risks too. I was looking at some of my diabetes education about that drug. And again, it's a drug. Let me bring up my notes real quick. When they're talking about Farxiga, let me see here. I'm going to keep playing her and I'll bring up my notes while she plays.
Twice a day with food. So one in the, like my first meal of the day. And then, so yes, I've been on like kind of a schedule where I, have to be up in the, not early morning, but in the morning enough to take the tablets and everything like that. Like I have a schedule. I have like alarms that I set for my tablets.
So one of the things that's interesting, so I'm guessing if she's on I don't know if she's gone to just regular metformin or if they actually have her on the Janumet, which was metformin and combined with the other, gosh, it's slipping my mind. There's so many to remember. Eloise will help me out. Janumet was, I think, metformin and there's another drug that went with it. Goodness me, my brain is old. Or if they have her now just on metformin and the Farxiga. Because sometimes they'll just do those two. And metformin you can take 1 or 2 times a day. And then the Farxiga is once a day. So they're really, she's like on the full, like, badly managed diabetic protocol. Like they have like, if this isn't the wake up call to start to take care of your diet and health. Oh, it wasn't, because she's eating a shepherd's pie and she hasn't done any exercise. So basically Farxiga, if she was worried about her getting kidney, it actually can increase kidney infections, because obviously you've got to think and UTIs and increased urinary urination, because it's trying to excrete all of that blood glucose out of your system, along with they're trying to excrete it along with the Lantus. So basically she is not getting that blood sugar into her cells, and they're trying to get rid of it. And she just thinks it's carte blanche for her to eat a bunch of potato and so forth. It's just wild. All right, keep going, Chantel.
I don't want to miss one because I have so many now, unfortunately. But anyways, inshallah in the future that will change.
Right, yes.
Because the doctor's like,
that's awesome.
You know what can change all of this is if you just completely get your weight under control. So I'll get to that in a minute. Excuse me. So I'm still on the antibiotic for the kidney infection, by the way. And then at night,
kidney infection probably caused by her either overdosing on her Janumet and putting too much work on her kidneys, or because she has so much blood glucose in her body system. It could be a twofer there. It could be a multiple. A lot of times there's so much going on, it's difficult to say what came first on the chicken and the egg on these things. So, but what she's basically telling us is that, I forgot this other interesting fact about Lantus too, but one of the interesting things is Farxiga actually can show that you can lose a little bit of weight, which is one of the sort of side effects of the drug. The problem with Lantus is actually you can gain weight on that drug, and you can gain weight suddenly rapidly. And if it's a rapid weight gain, that could be more indicating of a problem with the heart. So she's got one, which is the Farxiga, which can, if she properly managed herself and her diet, could potentially show weight loss. But she's on Lantus, which one of the side effects of insulin is weight gain. So people think it's going to do all these miracles. Like, no, you can actually gain weight being on insulin. And if you gain it rapidly, that's the time that you have to immediately contact your provider. And I don't know how much of this education Chantel skirts around on her, Google, Dr. Google or whatever. But I don't think she really, that's why they want her to go to diabetes education classes. That's why there's classes. And it goes on because the drugs are very complex and cause a number of side effects. And you need to be aware of them because some of them are ones that you need to report to your doctor. She makes
at
me so
around
weak.
10. I take, no, did I say the Forxiga at night at
Yes.
10?
Why?
Forxiga is not at 10. Sorry, Forxiga is in the day. The one at 10 is Lantus. So I have this. If you don't know what.
Oh, for goodness sake. Yes, they're telling you to take the Lantus at night because that's what you're supposed to do. Helps to control your blood sugars at night. And then it's supposed to work all day. But Eloise will know that a lot of times its efficacy maybe only goes to 18 to 20 hours. That's why they have newer line drugs. And she thinks that I think she thinks she can start just overdoing the Lantus and it's going to do what she wants it to do. No, you're going to end up giving yourself more issues. You're going to potentially put more strain on your heart and more strain on your kidneys. Unless it's proper, dose. At the moment, she started out low, so she probably doesn't even know that she could get up much higher based on her weight. But she's only on a starting dose. Look at the face of smugness here. She's like, I got this. No, you don't, girl. You need to be in deep therapy, in my opinion. Sorry, the rain.
Insulin looks like, if you're curious, I thought it was a pen. The doctor in observation was talking about like,
where's the Timmy?
He's like, if you are afraid to inject yourself, I can prescribe a pen. And I'm like, so I don't know. Maybe that's what I understood, but I'm like, I'm fine with injecting myself. I don't care. It's not a problem. So this is Lantus, and it's just like a vial, and you put the needle in here.
What do you have to do to the top of the vial before you stick the needle in, Chantel? What needs to happen? Do you know the reason why they gave you all those alcohol wipes too is you're supposed to wipe that thing clean before you actually inject your needle into it to pull up your drug? Luckily, the good news is this is one of the few that does not need to be refrigerated. But I don't know if she knows that either. Chantel.
And they give you a huge box of these.
Well, that's because the insulin
I already have an open
cause
box.
weight gain. Dairy white. Yes, even better.
Like a huge amount of syringes. Just like that look like that.
In the States, we just use alcohol wipes on the floor. And I know that's got blood sugar in it or alcohol, the sugars, but we don't get the dairy wipes often. We sometimes have to, sometimes I don't even get the PPE out. But they probably have better protocols in the UK. I think I have seen the dairy wipes, but usually just in the US, if you can just get it clean with alcohol, that's usually satisfactory. But you have to wipe it. See, look at those tiny little units there. With her retinopathy started, she's gonna struggle to see those units. I mean, I've had time where I've filled up 1.5 syringes for a patient for some of these drugs. These patients are critically sick patients with heart disease that also have diabetes accompanying it. I would not be sitting there feeling very confident at this time, Chantal. This should have been a wake-up call that you need to return home to Canada. Keep going. I got to write a paper today.
And, of course, they give you, like, a box of alcohol swabs.
Oh, she refused that. She didn't want to take the Solastar. She didn't want to take that. And she doesn't understand. You just click it, and it gives you the number of units you need to take. She didn't want that. I think she didn't feel that she could abuse it, in my opinion. Like she could abuse this insulin. Because she doesn't understand there's 20 different types of, 20 is a slight exaggeration, but there's a lot of different types of insulin. A lot of different types. I'm just looking at my insulin list here. Okay. And, there's this many insulins. And over on, this is just the injectable. Okay. And this number of insulin. So it's like 2 pages worth of different types of insulins. She's clueless. Absolutely clueless.
Yeah. So that was that's that. I was expecting it for my blood today, like when I just took it, to be super high. Like just super high because like I had something to eat before my nap. It was just some like lentil soup I had, and I didn't.
Yeah, I rarely see patients getting the vials. The only time that obviously on the floor, because we're multi-dosing, and we might have one thing of say Lantus, and it's in the med cabinet, and you're there and you have to actually pull up your drug, label it, and then return it back into the medication. You can't take it into the patient room because some other nurse might be looking for that drug. And so we use obviously the multi-dose vials, but patients generally in an outpatient, when they're not being managed for their diabetes in the hospital, will have the pen, or they'll have the sensor. Some of the patients will have, obviously, if they're type 1s particularly, will have the insulin pump. So yeah, most patients are not given vials to pull up anymore. Unless it's the least expensive option, and then the doctor might write for it. But they're moving away from that too, because it's difficult to see the tiny units to pull up the drugs, and obviously you're dealing with a medication that you really has to be pulled correctly.
Have bread.
In the States, when we're pulling up the insulin for our patients, you actually do have to have a second nurse check it. And you have to put in the chart who checked your insulin, just to make sure there wasn't a mistake made. And you don't say, oh, this is 10 units of, you're supposed to hand the insulin needle to the nurse to look at. And then the nurse will say, that's 10 units, or that's 30 units, or however many units. And you actually are to second check it, because it's that dangerous of a drug. That's why her sitting here, with this expression on her face at this moment is dangerous. And the education she's giving people is dangerous. It's one of the few second check drugs on the floor next to blood products.
Bread or anything. I had a little piece of cheddar cheese, some lentil soup. And I don't know why, but I just found because even no matter what I've been eating,
I'm sorry to hear
sometimes
that,
I've been
Mrs.
eating carbs before, but I stopped doing that since that one high blood sugar reading. But I was still discouraged. I was just waiting.
One high blood sugar reading, Chantel, every day that you're over 200, you're constantly in high blood sugar readings. You're supposed to be, as a diabetic, under at least 120. In fact, I wouldn't even be able to allow you to exercise at the cardiac rehab with a blood sugar over 300, because it's actually dangerous and you are so far gone at this point. So far gone. Sorry, my poor dog's getting stressed out. She's already stressed out. Poor Juba. She's stressed out by the storm. And now she's got me getting upset that this person is talking about the fact that she's out here educating people. And she's so dangerous. That's why I can't do Chantel very often, guys. She gets me heated.
To be discouraged, and it was lower, so much lower. And I'm like, yes, please be working.
Right.
Maybe the kidney infection's going away. Maybe the Forxiga's helping. I don't know.
Yeah, you could, if you pulled up your insulin wrong and you gave too much, you could have the patient have a hypoglycemic event. If you're pulling up too little, you could have them have a hyperglycemic event. That's why a lot of times when you're really managing blood sugars, there's actually a machine called the glucomander, which no nurse enjoys working on. Because it's quite complex. It's one of the great, things that always came along with the heart hospital. When you're managing cardiac patients, you're often having to manage the diabetes type 2 along with it. And, diabetics type 1, it can have the same type of potential for the same issues. But I mean, the fact that she doesn't even have glasses to pull up her drugs properly. She's so negligent. It's terrible.
I'm just yes, please. So then the doctor was like, everything can go away. All of these problems, would most likely go away if you, get your weight under control. So he gave me 2 prescriptions, on a prescription paper. He wrote my weight and everything like that.
I know she's acting like she knows so much about her diabetes. I can promise you, I've been working with diabetic patients for over a decade, and I still feel like I'm constantly learning about type 2 diabetes, the effects on the body, all the different drugs. There's always new drugs coming out, how to manage it, how to be able to give the right amount of the drugs in order for the patient to actually get control. And you're hoping that the patient's doing their part, i.e., watching their diet and taking their medications as prescribed and exercising. You've got to combine it with exercise. But she is so high on her blood sugars, she's actually unsafe to exercise a lot of the time because she has a greater risk of having a potential cardiac event.
To go see the obesity clinic, which is why you see me beside the obesity clinic door, because it was like right near our appointment.
Oh, good.
And then there's a nutritionist.
Oh, that's
door.
good.
Nutritionist.
I mean, it's.
It said,
I'm glad to hear there's a dual drug, but that just means that, you know, people aren't. We're having to come up with all of these different combinations of drugs in order to try to help people get the best control they can for their type 2 diabetes. But the best control that you can have is diet and exercise. Diet and exercise. We are having to create drugs to help people with their lifestyle choices. Some of it, you know, there's only but so much you can say an infection is causing this. Obviously, we know when we give people, that's one of the reasons why they don't like to give people steroids constantly. Even though those corticosteroid shot feel good in the knee to help with a knee pain or in the back for, you know, the hip. And you can't give them, but so often there's too many side effects. So, I mean, we're creating drugs. I'm sure, you know, people are like, oh, big pharma. Well, we're creating, you know, things to help people manage it because she can't manage her lifestyle. She cannot manage her lifestyle. She's a 40-year-old person. This is like deep psychological issues here as to why she doesn't care enough about her health and her body. You know, why, you know, what is it? And it could be, and to do with potentially addictions to food, disordered eating. There's a lot that's happening in this person. And she seems pretty happy. She don't seem that sad. All right, keep going, Chantel.
Nutrition on the door. So there's nutrition, obesity. So I have to go at some point. And while we were there, there was no one there because we went pretty close to the 5 o'clock mark. Like it was like between 2 and 5. But yeah, by the time we were done my appointment and like, you know, by the time we got there, got done my appointment, everything, it was like getting pretty late and there didn't seem to be anybody in there. So we have to go at some point soon.
Oh, at some point soon. Does that mean that means, you know, she's never going to make it there? Because she showed up that day and Chantel is easily defeated in my mind. Like, oh, I tried. Well, there you go. I got therapy. You know, it's like, oh, I did it. I went to the doctor. Oh, I showed up at the door. I'm done. I know better than everybody else. I mean, just so I'm guessing you were just, you know. There's a reason why they have to have specific diabetes education classes for patients because it's so complex to manage. It's not like even, you know, giving up cardiac meds, which have complexities too. You know, a big thing with that is like, you know, diet and exercise, but it's not to the complexity of trying to manage type 2 diabetes. That's why they have to go above and beyond. Anyway, keep going, Chantel. I got to write a paper.
And see about arranging.
About vaccination hesitancy in parents.
Like the diabetic education program.
Go on in, Miss Catherine.
The obesity management.
She is frustrating, Rosebud.
And the nutrition. So
she never went the next day.
Like this can happen. Like this
that never
like
happened.
Bing bang boom. Like I honestly, sorry.
She's, I'm back to being nice, Chantel. I'm not the person drawing pictures of everybody in Girl World and the Pictionary and laughing and raging. I'm nice, Chantel, because I need empathy because I'm managing multiple conditions. The next one is going to be either the kidneys are gone or you're going to have a cardiac event, girl, or a stroke. They're all on the horizon if she doesn't start to take care of it. But unfortunately, the body is just going to give out on one of those areas. And if she's not managing her, blood pressures, the simvastatin's not going to be enough, sweetie. They think she's going back to Canada.
I honestly feel like the healthcare I've been getting so far in Kuwait, I just like it so much more than what I've been getting in like Canada. Like, I don't know.
Why? Because they don't have a full record of your medical history in Kuwait, so you can lie to the doctors? Is it because in Canada they expect you to take some type of responsibility for your health because it's actually on taxpayers' money? So every time you walk in that hospital, you know that you're taking, a service that's paid for by the people of Canada. You're not just paying out of pocket. Is it to do with the guilt? Or is it because they're not, they're kind of just getting you in and out the door in Kuwait and not asking you too many questions? I have a lot of questions about this, Chantel, because I think it's down more to you and how people treat you and how much you feel that you can get away with, in my professional opinion.
I don't know how it's just like more accessible. I don't know if it's that, I have Salah with me like as a support and it helps. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Probably partly that. So you can drag Salah in to your behaviors on this and make him feel like he's got to feel so bad for you, and maybe he's just, placating you because otherwise he doesn't get access to Foodie's purse if she's not being placated to. She's, always trying to convince people that everything is better for her in Kuwait. I've never lived in Kuwait, so I can't say. I almost took a job in Kuwait, actually. But I decided I'd rather go to Mexico. We're a little bit freer in Mexico. I didn't think I was not somebody at that young age who was very good with always following rules and regulations. So I thought I'd get myself in trouble in a place like Kuwait. And they were offering me much better money than they were in Mexico. I thought I would have much more fun in Mexico, which I did. So I think that you're paying for an appointment out of your own pocket rather than having to queue up in a system. I think that's part of it. Because remember how upset and angry she was that she had to be with the rest of the folks lining up for her appointment. And this is part of her narcissistic personality traits, in my opinion. Not treating, diagnosing. That she has to feel special. She's got to feel that she's, the queen of being special. Keep going, Chantal.
But
I want to get smudged.
Like, I definitely just feel more hopeful and not like, oh my gosh, like I see a lot of people worried, like, you need to come back to Canada. You need to come back to Canada.
Yes.
And it's like, why? Like maybe people, like I thought too at first, like, oh no, like I'm not native here, the healthcare system, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't seem to matter. Like, it doesn't seem to.
It is going to matter when you suddenly really have a massive event. It'll matter then. And if you're not being able to work and make money, who says the Salal's going to stick around if you really have a massive event? Then you're really going to be on your own. Because if you're not pulling in that money, which is probably why you're out doing a ridiculous shepherd's pie mukbang. Keep going, girl. I got to write a paper.
Where you're from, what kind of, status you have here. The healthcare is pretty darn good. And yeah. So I don't know. So far, my experience, anyways. So
yeah, it doesn't matter when you pay.
There's just lots of options, and I really am going to try to just be consistent with this, take my medication.
Yes, they potentially
go
they
to these
do.
programs.
They seem to.
And really try to see like,
well, people with narcissistic personality traits, they can have that sort of charm and charisma to them sometimes, while they're trying to get people into their world. They're gonna play up on that often, to reel somebody in. They'll love bomb. They'll have certain behaviors that are attractive to an audience. That's why probably so many people who do well in Hollywood or actors probably have some narcissistic personality traits to them, because they need the adulation. So I think, and they can perform for it. And so I think that's why those types of personalities probably also do well on YouTube. It's probably the same type of thing that people see in people with star qualities for Hollywood. So I think that's a very interesting way to sort of think about, why those personnel, and they're opening up. Suppose they'll maybe lure people in with a false sense of they're letting everyone know so much about them, and people then feel like, oh, I know this person, So it could be sort of tactics that people with narcissistic personality traits use in order to bring people into their world, so that they can then manipulate them to their advantage.
What I can do to improve myself. And it's,
Right.
going to be a process, but.
And we've seen that, Catherine, happen quite a few times. Catherine says, and wait for the narcissistic injury when they lose their shite. Yes. And we've seen her rage when she thinks that she's not making the money that she should be making, when she thinks that she's got all these other things going on. She is going to be like blowing that out, when we've seen her do it quite a few times. Claudette says some Canadian doctors are dropping patients who miss appointments or don't comply. There's a shortage of doctors and nurses. Absolutely. That's why she's not a fan of the Canadian healthcare system. And they do the same here in the United States. I promise you, even though people have insurance, if there is such a limit, and the doctor is going to be thinking too, the doctor isn't there just to cater to everybody's whims. And so far, she's only met these doctors one time where she paid for the appointment, and maybe twice. So she's not really got anything to compare about managing this disease over a long period of time. And I don't think she could be getting that care in Kuwait unless she's going to have to pay for it privately. And it's expensive. It's not as cheap as she says. That is not what they say about so I have a feeling that she does, potentially, when she disappears for a day, like she did recently, maybe she's headed back over to the United Arab Emirates, because I understand it's, not Kuwait is not a big country, goes over there, gets her medical care, and then brings herself back over to Kuwait. So I think if she keeps disappearing for a day, that's because she went over to see whoever for the doctor, and she's going to get fed up of doing that soon. She's not got the ability to stay consistent, except with YouTube, because this is where she makes her money. So she's got enough to be that, but she doesn't do anything on her channel. She'd be lying. And in the United States, you've been on a waiting 5 years for a doctor. They said up to 10 years wait, and that's through health care. I am so sorry to hear that, Joanna. I am so sorry to hear that you have to wait. You're waiting for graduates to come out. Right. And medical school is hard. And I don't know if in Canada, if you have to pay for your schooling the same way we have to pay for our schooling here in the United States. And because it is a system that is paid by the taxpayers, probably the pay is a limitation too. So probably if anybody becomes a doctor in Canada, they probably want to come to the United States where they can make more money. Because that's one of the things that the reason why we are able to attract so many providers from so many different countries is because of the fact that America does have a private system, for better or for worse, which offers higher levels of pay to practitioners. And so even for nurses, I mean, the money I make for a nurse at certain points probably was up there with a doctor in the UK, which would be crazy for people. Obviously, the living costs here in this country are outrageous. But it's, and to have patients in the United States, they'll get rid of you too if you're not showing up to your appointments. I promise you, they'll strike you out. If they have an appointment and you keep missing them, that doctor will get rid of you. And people get upset here because they have insurance that they've paid for. And so they think that, the doctor just has to take them. If you're a non-compliant patient, the doctor is just, after a while, they're just going to say, no, I'm done. Thank you, Angel of Glass. I appreciate you moderating today, girl. I'm so glad that you're here, keeping everybody straight for me. Thank you so much. I want to make sure I thank my mods who are here with me today. Those waiting for a doc. Right. I've never experienced not having a doctor here in Ontario, and I've always had quick access to all the specialists. I've had many. Right. And potentially it's because you've been, longer in the system, but younger patients coming up, I know here in the United States, you can wait an entire year to see your internal medicine doctor, and I'm talking about like first appointments. It is hard to get that. It's getting less and less. And I promise you, the minute they find out there's a new doctor, their books will fill up faster than you can imagine. Yes, this is for educational purposes only. We're not here to diagnose or treat. Absolutely. Education, entertainment purposes only. I do not diagnose or treat anybody here in this live stream. Not even Chantel. And I certainly could not diagnose or treat her for anything as far as her psychological state of mind. I can make speculations about what I'm seeing, but they're my opinions and my opinions only, because obviously I have not given her a full head to toe physical assessment, and therefore I would not be able to say what is going on with her. Just to give you heads up. Right. And it depends where you live. But my area, though, I mean, we have multiple healthcare systems, but it's not a cheap area to live in. And we get a lot of retirees because of having a military bases in the area. So a lot of people that used to retire out of the military and they would leave out of Virginia Beach in this area, they would never stay. They go back home. Well, they're not going back home like they used to. People are staying in Virginia Beach, which always astounds me. But people are staying here more. And because we are becoming such a big city now in this area, there's a lot of other younger people who are attracted to living here because it has really good school systems. And it's got obviously the beaches, there's mountains in the west part. That Snowshoe is a ski away. We're close to DC. There's a lot of things that make this area more attractive than when I remember my family's from Virginia Beach for centuries. And I remember when Virginia Beach was a tiny, tiny town. And, didn't have a lot of people, and not a lot of people were attracted. There was the military. And like I said, once they left, they left. But now people are choosing to stay, and we have more people coming from outside of other parts of the country that are coming to live here. The cost of living is the one thing that stops making it so attractive, but there are a lot of work opportunities here. And so that attracts people looking for work. And then their families now or their parents are starting to move to this area so they can be closer to the grandchildren. And so we've just got a lot of influx of people. I think this area has doubled in size since I've even been here in the last 20 years. And it's just I'm always shocked at how many people are in the city of Virginia Beach and how little housing, and they're building housing constantly. Anyway, let me not talk about Virginia Beach. But yeah, but they're still trying to lure practitioners. Every city is competing, and wants to offer something attractive, to the doctors, because, they'll really, you should see how they try to sell up, job opportunities. It's a very different way of advertising for like higher level providers than say for a nurse. Nurse, they just like, you'll get this sign-on bonus, like nurses money, whereas with the say, for example, a nurse practitioner, when I was looking to sort of see how the opportunities were. And they're crying for psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners in my area, obviously, because we have the VA. We have a lot of veterans who do sadly suffer from PTSD and anxiety disorders and depression through it. So we have an absolute, and they're, like I said, they're staying in the area. They're not moving out. So there's a real need for those practitioners here. But it's like, they'll show the ads like, come live in this place in this beautiful neighborhood where you'll get all this stuff. So they really try to sell up like the lifestyle that you're going to get as a provider. It's fascinating. All right, we've almost done with Chantel, and I got to write.
I don't feel like when I got sick on July 1st, I was like, what's wrong with me? It could be a million things, like, you know, and I had so much anxiety then. So to compare to how I felt July 1st, full of anxiety, to now on a path of recovery and
path of recovery. That's a very interesting choice of words. You're not doing your part, Chantel, without exercise and diet. And I understand you're out eating a shepherd's pie. So there's no path to recovery. They've just basically said to you, your body is really having problems now. And they've put you on quite a few medications. You're on 4 that you're telling us. Most, I can let you know, that's not a good sign for your body. Usually anybody who's, and not to scare people, but there are some things in the literature that say that if you can get past 55 and you've not been put on a blood pressure medication or anything, your chances of having longevity are greatly increased, because that means that your body is pretty healthy. If you're somebody who has had to be on a host of medications and you're 40, that's not a good sign. That means that your body is failing you. And they're having to give you medications in order to prop it up. You're not on any path to recovery. You have no lifestyle changes either to accompany it. You're fooling yourself, Chantel.
You know, the main key thing here is I know I have to do my part. Like, I have to be really serious and seriously, no more BS. Like,
yes,
this is, for me, my health, and I can't muck around, and, you know, I can't afford to just
yes, I would agree with
stall
that
for whatever reason anymore. You know, like, yes, food addiction, and I will always stand by that. Food addiction, eating disorders.
Oh, and I heard her use the term disordered eating and things, and it was like, Chantel, I'm the one person who says that term in girl world. I hear people talking about the other things with her BED and so forth, but I'm the one, in order to kind of skirt around YouTube's, talked about disordered eating in that way. And it's like, tell us you're not listening to us without listening. I know she watches me. I know she does, because I see her comments. I think she's the one who gets mad at me for actually not doing enough videos about her sometimes. Like, when are you going to go back to talking about Chantel? I feel like it's because you want to hear what I have to say, hey? Maybe I'm the one source of reason, because I don't really call you bad names, you know, because that's not what the purpose is. But I do want to make sure that you're giving out proper medical information. You're not on a path to recovery, sweetheart. You need to actually be in some deep therapy at this point to address a lot of the issues that you have. Keep going. We're almost done.
Are horrible, and I'm sure that they can help me with that in the obesity clinic.
Hey, Patty, come on in.
People who are severely obese, it's a disease. It's a huge medical condition.
Yes, in fact, I need to read a chapter about weight management today. So keep going, Chantel. And if you are not aware that obesity is a disease and it only just dawned upon you, then obviously, where have you been living under a rock in Kuwait? Or where have you?
And like I always say, nobody wants to wake up and be 400 or 500 pounds. Like,
you don't wake up and become
even
500 pounds.
You
don't wake up and become 400 or 500 pounds. It takes time and dedication to get to that weight, Chantel. The only way you can wake up with extra 30 pounds on you is because you're holding fluid and edema. Otherwise, no, you just don't wake up and you're that size. You really do need to talk to somebody, because if that is your belief, and the obesity clinic is to just make sure that you're managing and you're getting some exercise. They're not going to be helping you with the actual psychological therapy that you need to help understand how to get better coping mechanisms when you do feel like you want to overeat. They're going to be managing, looking at your weight, making sure you're on your drugs. That's what their line of therapy is. They're not somebody who's going to help you address the deeper reasons as to why you have these behaviors. What are you using it as a coping mechanism for? What are your triggers? What is leading you to do this? Why do you find it difficult to be compliant? What things are, is it times when you're feeling low and depressed? That they're not going to address any of that. They might do a PHQ-9 on you and find out, where you are on the depression scale, and let the doctor know he might need to prescribe something. But they're not going to be doing the therapeutic work that you need to have, in my opinion. And I'm not treating or diagnosing.
Overweight, like everyone's body is different, metabolism is different. 40.
Yes, but everybody's metabolism is different. Everybody's genetics are different. People can have diseases that can make them be, there is a lot involved. But you need to not find this as an excuse for why you aren't managing yours. You're looking for every excuse in order to not address things. And then you need to figure out, why are you creating these excuses? Why are they there? What are you doing? How do you reflect upon your feelings?
40 extra pounds can affect somebody. It depends on your body and your system. And some people can live years and years being 800 pounds. It just depends, At me at this,
I don't know if I've ever seen an 800-pound person. That's pretty heavy. Now she's just getting into the extremes of weight,
at this weight, it's affecting my health, and in a really bad way, and it keeps affecting.
It's not just your weight, Chantel. It's how you eat and don't exercise that's having the biggest effect, which is causing the weight gain. And also, you having unmanaged diabetes is going to have the weight gain. But you've got to deal with, why do you choose to eat the way that you eat? And it's hard. You become addicted to the salt and the sugar. Then you start to lose your taste buds. So any other food doesn't taste as good anymore. Tastes bland comparatively. So you have to learn how to season food to make it taste more palatable. There's a lot that you need to address. And I don't think a obesity clinic in a foreign country is going to be able to help you with it, because I don't know if they have the same therapeutic help that you need and require. And if you're going to be able to find a practitioner that you can do that in a foreign language with.
My health. And I have severe issues with food. And
right.
So many, so I think that obesity clinic should be able to help learn,
exactly.
proper
Mrs. Dash is great.
Nutrition, especially like when you have type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is a bit different. So anyways, I'm just really hopeful, and I'll keep you guys posted with updates like this. I'm going to try to live a pretty normal life in between and do fun things around, try to, get out more, do whatever, I don't know, just, take care of my home.
You're at a medical risk. You actually need to have supervision physician supervision for exercise at this point, because of the strain on your heart muscle. It's good. You can't even be 100 feet away from a bench to sit in.
home, take care of my health. That's like the main thing I want to focus on right now. So
obviously that's a complete lie, because I understand you're sitting down eating a shepherd's pie. And we'll take a look at this horror. I'm not going to do the review on it because I got to go write. I actually have to write a paper. But I just want to see what she sat down in front of that she's managing her health with quickly before we leave. All right, finish it out, Chantel.
anyways, guys, I think I've said enough for now. Talking makes me more thirsty, so I'm going to work on waking up and finishing whatever I got to do. It's still daytime here. And work on getting this video out to you guys. And yeah, hope to see you again soon live or in another video. Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.
I don't think she's been going live too much lately, has she? Because of the fact that I don't even see her comments. She got 62 comments. Which means that she probably, cleaned up some of the worst of the comments down here. Okay, let's just see this last. I just want to see the horror of this video. Oh my God. All this red meat, which is just not appropriate for type 2 diabetes. Oh my God. I might have anyway, I just want to see how awful this thing looks. Jeez. Potatoes, carbs, potatoes, carrots, red meat. Okay, that just told me what I needed to know. All right, guys. I've been here for almost 3 hours. I've got to write a paper about parents and why they don't want to vaccinate their children. So I've got to finish reading these papers. I had a great time. I really do appreciate everybody being here. My mod, Angel of Glass, who did a great job keeping an eye on everything. I want to thank TLR for becoming a YouTube member. Any of the members, if you just want to drop some sad pancreases and some poor kidneys and some stethoscopes in the chat for me, because we need it. Look at this. Look at this. What the jeez. Cheekbones. I think we need to get together and talk about this shepherd's pie. The red meat is not advised. For somebody with such unmanaged type 2 diabetes. This woman needs to be living on some grilled chicken if she's going to get protein and some tofu. And Mrs. Muerta, thank you again for that super chat. It is so appreciated. I appreciate you guys being patient with me changing the times of my live stream just because the weather was wild yesterday. Not that I didn't get wild weather that probably cut me off today. I think it was actually my computer was just saying that they couldn't take this person anymore. Yeah, thank you for all the sad pancreases and the running shoes. Yes, we've got some workout clothing in there too. That's supposed to be for her to get her exercise on. So you can get the running shoes. And I think there's also like a little workout outfit with the little weights going. We can get that into the chat. Your thumbs up is broken. Oh, no, Emily. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate Miss Angel of Glass. Yeah. If you really want to thank me, you can always buy me a coffee for grad school. And I really do appreciate those contributions. I did get Junebug some treats yesterday because somebody sent me some buy me the coffees. And so those are always appreciated. Yeah. If you want to join the crew here, I had to do, if you hadn't seen, I did I actually got yay, we got the running shoes, computers, the workout, we got all of it going. Awesome. You can even have me bringing flowers or giving thumbs down to her for her live stream, because there's one of me doing a thumbs down, and that's like because I'm thumbing down that live stream or that video of hers, and I'm giving a thumbs down for her homemade cottage pie comfort food classic. Because that's what this girl needs at the moment. She's just, that's terrible. I need to go get to my massage chair. I was very happy because if you haven't seen, I did do a review that I actually got a brand deal, believe it or not. And I was able to exchange a video for the chair. So I got this fantastic chair. And so I want to thank all of you guys who watch and engage with my channel, because without your engagement, without you guys watching, without you guys showing such wonderful support to this community and this channel, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to get something that massages my back and brings me heat. You bought me some coffee, Pixie Dragon. Well, I appreciate it. Oh, I appreciate. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I promise you, it's been fantastic. I've missed you guys. I'm sorry I've been so busy. Tim has been taking some time. Then I obviously needed to work on this video. And I've obviously back at grad school. I'm doing good already. I'm getting good grades. So I'm proud of myself. I got a lot of tests though. This week is going to be busy because I have a journal I have to do. I've got to do a discussion board right now about vaccine hesitation with parents. And I also need to read a bunch of topics. But like I said, I was fortunate that this week my classes happened to coincide with weight management and with insulin and antimicrobials. So there was a lot that I was able to hopefully bring to this chat today, just from what I'm learning at school. So yeah. Oh, thank you, Pixie Dragon. I really appreciate it. Angela Glass, thank you. And Cheekbones, what do you think to this shepherd's pie? Ooh. All right, guys. Well, if Chantel brings out something, I really appreciate it. I didn't expect to go this live and this late. So, but thank you guys. Make sure you hit the likes on the way out. I'm going to make sure I thank all of my community members, shout them out before I leave. So I'm going to roll that out. Chantel and I will be disappearing, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Super appreciate it.